your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to a Friday edition of Running Point, and it is Friday the 13th, so we're hoping for no scary or terrible conundrums on Friday the 13th. Show on Friday the 13th is Testing the Universe, Ty.
Testing the universe a little bit, but if you're like me, you like the number 13. There's something about it that brings good luck to everybody. But now Friday the 13th, everyone always fears this day a little bit. I think it's kind of cool when it comes around because I just think of the movies.
If we're doing the show and I hear,
I think it's time for you to get out of there. Then I think we're cutting out volleyball previews a little bit short, and Anthony's getting out of the studios.
We will politely fade to black. And that'll be the end of the Friday show. No kidding. One day we were doing the show in this studio, and these walls are pretty thin. And where's me and the old host, who will not be named, we're talking, and all of a sudden we hear the Halloween thing. The piano, like the really
the piano, the piano riff, yeah.
4 notes, dun, 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 and we both just like stop dead cold in the show. We're like, it sent tingles up your spine a little bit. Like it was freaky.
Just to have that sound even playing
right
nope. In the middle of the studio. That's gotta. Oh boy.
Nope. That nope. Don't want that. Not on Friday the 13th. We'll have a fun show regardless, as we have to dive into our volleyball previews today. We're doing Division 1. We have 4 Division 1 teams to talk about. We also have the Salem head volleyball coach Casey Costal coming on at 1:30 to give us a preview of Salem's season. And we also have some scores to kind of recap from yesterday. Even though it was a pretty rainy day, some teams were able to get tennis matches and golf scores in. And Ty, we start with Salem Tennis, who edged Beaver Local last night 3-2. They lost both the double matches pretty handedly. And looking at the scores here, but they swept the singles matches, and Salem did not lose. Only lost 1 game in 3 singles matches. They Auburn Hamilton won 6-0, 6-1. Emma Hammerson won 6-0, 6-0. And Maria Sargent won 6-0, 6-0. So, I mean, that was big considering that they lost both the doubles. Lainey Haas and Katie McFarland lost 4-6, 2-6. And Lainey Tonkinson and Kelly Humphreys lost 1-6, 0-6. So they dropped both the doubles, but then their singles players just take the team on their back and only lose 1 game in 3 matches. And that's a total of 6-6. I didn't want to say 6-6-6 twice, 3 times on
Friday the 13th. Yeah, come on now, man.
Can't do that. Quick math here: 24, 36. So that's 37 games in 3 singles matches, and you win 36 out of 37. Pretty dominant performance from the Salem singles players on the girls tennis team.
I think any tennis player will tell you too, going from singles to doubles competition is wildly difficult too, especially if you're just starting up in the sport or if you've been on the sport for only a couple of years, or even if you've been in the sport for a few years. Going from singles to doubles is a lot harder because you're a lot more restricted in doubles play too. And it's a lot harder to really get that chemistry and that flow on the tennis court with another teammate too, and kind of make sure you guys are on the same page and not let that ball bounce twice. So I mean it's a lot harder, I think, playing doubles once you've been a singles competitor for a little bit too, trying to have that chemistry and work on court with somebody else.
We have a question from social media. Did you
I
wear
did not.
13?
I wore 22 and everything. And I think that's because my brother wore 13 in baseball and I had to stand out. So I think I wore 22 in baseball.
Double deuces. You gotta love it. Okay, Columbiana Golf got into EOAC action and they won a tri-match against East Palestine and Southern. This is the boys golf team. The girls golf team was in action as well, but we'll start with the boys. Columbiana shot a 157. East Palestine shot 186, and Southern shot 193. Leading Columbiana was Anthony, good name by the way, Anthony Hall. He shot a 38. Baden Pipoli shot a 39. Bean Velasquez shot a 40, and Rocco Crawford shot a 40 as well for Columbiana. For East Palestine, Max Cavelli shot a 40. Josh Bland shot a 47. Addison Bycroft shot a 48, and Cam Stacy shot a 51. For Southern, their scores: Gavin Trebello shot a 40. Zach Trebello, brother, shot a 47. Jason Rigg shot a 53. And Sebastian Bach shot a 53 as well. Columbiana returned to action at the Tame Hoof Invitational today. The girls were in a one-on-one matchup with Ursuline and won by 2 strokes. Close one, 183 to 185. So they get the close victory over Ursuline. Their scores: Ellie Jackson shot a 43. Emma Ray Foy shot a 44. Isabella Travis shot a 45. And Annika Patrick shot a 51. And man, if you're a golfer and your name is Annika, or I'm gonna say Annika, what a you're in some good company right there.
Yeah, I mean, it goes along with some of those certain names too that are in with those other sports too, like being named Homer in baseball and everything like that. There's certain names where it feels like you're just born to play a sport, and Annika just feels like
right. You better be a girls golfer.
Perfect player for tennis.
Josie Bashara shot a 44 to lead Ursuline, and Columbiana will host Lowville on Tuesday. So those are the golf scores that we got from yesterday. And then we have one more. I'm going to go to Hubbard's athletic page real quick, because the Hubbard golf team went 2-1 in a 8 tri-match with Gerard, Niles, and Struthers. Matthew Johnson shot a 39. Lucas Stenson shot a 42. Ethaniel Jones shot a 43. And Taggart Carfangia, that's a name, shot a 45. So
pretty good, pretty impressive scores too. And I mean, there's just a lot of great, talented players around the area. I mean, I can't even imagine doing anything in the 40s as a casual golfer in a traditional 9-hole course. So I can't even imagine kids being able to do that. Golf is absolutely one of the hardest sports I think I've ever played, and it's not one of those sports I don't think I'll ever truly be that great at. I just feel like I don't have the patience to put in the work to be good at golf. So all the kudos to all the kids that work at it, because as Brian Tolnar would say too, as you could see him on Wednesdays here on the Running Point, but he'll tell you too, it's one of those sports where you just got to practice at, and you just got to put all the hours and years into of practice. And he talked about that too on Wednesday about how that gives you a leg up. And boy, oh boy, do you ever need practice too for golf, because that is one of the sports it is hard to constantly improve in.
Hubbard is now 5-1 on the season, as they had their first loss of the year in that tri match with Gerard and Niles. Girard and Struthers, excuse me. Girard and Struthers were the other two teams in that NE8 tri match for Hubbard. Now, before we get to our volleyball previews, we have to preview some games tonight, Ty.
Yes,
For
we
for
do.
the first day of the fall season, we got game day. It's Friday night football. OHSAA's initiative to get the soccer teams on the field before the Friday night before Friday Night Lights with Friday Night American football. And as we look at the games tonight, there are plenty both on boys and girls soccer. And we'll start with the boys and see what their action looks like. As to start things off, Boardman hosting Cleveland Heights. Sorry, not making the trip to Cleveland Heights, hosting Cleveland Heights. Warren JFK will be making the trip to Girard. East Palestine with opening the season with a Marlington team that has really owned the EBC for the last couple of years. So East Palestine opening up with a very tough task, traveling to Marlington. Fitch will be going to Norton. Canfield going to South Range. That'll be a great one. And Crestview will be traveling to Steubenville. On the girls' side, Girard is hosting JFK. That'll be a part of a doubleheader. Girls will kick off at 5. The boys will kick off at 7. Let's see. Boardman is traveling to Green. Springfield, who we talked to their coach a couple of days ago, they are going to be traveling to Niles. Canfield will be going to South Range, and that'll be a part of a doubleheader. Girls will play at 5. Boys will play at 7. Crestview is going to Steubenville. That'll also be a doubleheader. Girls will play at 7. The boys will play at 5. So the boys starting that doubleheader at 5. Girls rounding it off in Steubenville. And to round off the games today, Salem will be going to United. Kickoff is at 7. So a lot of great action. And when I'm looking at that South Range Canfield doubleheader, boys and girls, and you look at in the boys side, South Range went to the regional finals last year, lost to Mooney, and Mooney went to the state tournament. And then you look at the girls side, and Canfield's been one of the best girls programs in the last couple of years. But South Range also has first team All-State Gabby Lamparty leading their team. And it's going to be really fun to watch both those games back to back, 5 and 7 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just a lot of great games to open up a Friday night football. And a good thing is we've talked to a decent amount of the coaches that are going to be representing the area for Friday night football in the area. So I mean, you could go back and watch all these interviews. A lot of these coaches are excited for it, and they think this is a great thing, a great initiative to kind of hop on the coattails of football, American football, which is so wildly popular this time of year in Northeastern Ohio, and kind of bring some attention to a different sport. And there's a lot of coaches that are excited for it. A lot of coaches that have represented their teams that we've already kind of previewed the teams that are going to be going on the field tonight. So, I mean, if you want to go ahead and check out some of those interviews, we have them posted by themselves too. So you don't even have to go sift through Running Point anymore. You can go find the interviews by themselves on the YSN page and just check out some of these teams that are going to be playing tonight. Because I'll tell you, we've had some great interviews with a lot of area soccer coaches. Anthony.
And yesterday we talked to Poland Boys Soccer. They're not a part of the initiative. They opened their season on I believe August 24th is what Brian Garkar told us yesterday. But one of the other games, I mean, look at Crestview traveling all the way to Steubenville, boys and girls, for a doubleheader. That talk about taking a road trip in your first game of the season and really testing your program, going all the way to the Big Red Country.
I'm going to be I'm going to be going down to the Big Red Country, hopefully for a football game later this season when Mooney goes down to travel, if everything goes off without a hitch. But the biggest thing with Steubenville and what going into that area of Ohio and going down there is it's basically a call to fandom for that school and for those athletes, man. I mean, and I mean, the football team is probably the heaviest supporter, but don't think that Steubenville doesn't support heavy in other sports, because they do. Very tough school to play away at. So it definitely going to have their hands full is Crestview, but it's going to be a good matchup, I think, going up against the Big Red, because it's going to be rocking and roaring down there in Steubenville.
Boardman girls also making a pretty decent trip to open up the season, going all the way to Green, which is I believe it's in the Akron area around there. So Boardman girls making a decent trip over to Green to open up their season.
I mean, you like to kind of see the trips too, because I mean, at the end of the day, these kids are going to have to make it if they want to get to tournament play at the end of the season. And by all means, I'm all for finding those different matchups and those non-conference matchups we don't get to see too often. I think it brings really good competition and just really fun games when you get to see that team on the schedule that you don't really get to see very too often.
I personally love that East Palestine is opening up the season with Marlington. I mean, that's throwing your kids out to the Sharks really early, and that's going to sharpen their program for the next couple weeks. Being able to square up against a Marlington team like Coach Bailey said when we had him on, they've been kind of running the EBC for the last couple of years in boys soccer. So East Palestine not shying away from a very tough first game of the season.
And I mean, you love to see that too, as East Palestine trying to bring some more hardware and some more banners back to Bulldog country. As you see some athletics too, we saw the girls basketball team finally start to make that turn and make that jump and finally get that shared title. Or no, it was a singles title, wasn't it?
Yeah, they won
the
it outright.
Yeah, the EOAC, excuse me. They were tied for a while on that at the end. I know. I thought someone pulled away, and it was them. So, yeah, the EOAC title, they get that for the first time in their history. They get that banner. East Palestine is a school that really has the pieces in place, and I think the right coaches in place to really build a program, not just on the football front, but on all fronts. And I think East Palestine, and yeah, they have programs where they're successful in, but I think the programs that they're struggling in, you're going to start to really see make a turn. And I mean, we see them too scheduling up, not just in football, but in other sports, and going and not shying away from competition, going right after a very, very tough Marlington team to open up the season.
I want to point out that Fitch is also making a decent trip. They're going all the way to Norton to open up their season. So Fitch also making a very lengthy road trip to open up the soccer season. But we're excited. That is, let me count them. That is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 soccer games tonight between boys and girls in the YSN coverage area. And that means 12 games that we get to talk about on Monday when we get the final scores in tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be fun to see just some of these athletes back out on the field again too, because it's been the long summer too, where we haven't seen a decent amount of them. Yeah, baseball was going on, but there's been a lot of high school athletes that we haven't seen featured in months now because they haven't played any really of the spring sports. So getting to see a lot of these really talented high school athletes get back into the swing of things, not just in football sense, but also in the volleyball sense, in the soccer sense as well, and also in golf. I mean, it's just nice to see these athletes coming back this year, where COVID restrictions are hopefully staying off, and we don't have to worry about. We won't have to worry about it. So I think it's really just nice to see these athletes get back out on the field, get back to what they're doing, and feel that sense of normality start to return.
And I gotta tell you, Ty, it's a sense of normality back to us too. I mean, I am so excited. On Monday we roll in. Like I said, we'll have 12 games to kind of recap and to get scores about, and that's going to be really the kickoff of the fall season when it comes to team sports.
I'm going to love that we can open up almost every show with the first half hour of just talking about what happened in sports around the area. Or first half hour, heck, we can even go first hour sometimes, because I'm sure we'll talk about.
We can start today. I mean, today we're talking about the tennis scores, the golf scores, soccer games coming up. I mean, this is the first time for our new era of Running Point that we've been able to take a chunk of the show and just talk about games that are either happening tonight or games that happened yesterday. Just such a fun time. We're so excited for fall sports to begin, and a big chunk of teams starting off their fall slate tomorrow. But then they'll have a 17-day break. A lot of these teams will have a long break from tomorrow to their next game. So we're going to have to see how these programs also navigate that long stretch without a game from game 1 to game 2.
Yeah, and like I said before, usually you worry about those long stretches, but it's not in the middle of the season. It's the first game of the season. So luckily, it's going to be a lot easier to get back on track by game 2, because you're right back into regular season and regular scheduled games after that, to where you're going to be playing pretty much a regular schedule after game 2. Game 2 being the start of it. So basically, you just got one game that's going to be a lot earlier than the rest of the games, but it's a tremendous opportunity, not only for your school, but for your program to represent this initiative that OHSA is trying to do in getting the soccer scene and soccer community more exposure to, and getting more people involved with the soccer community. So I think a lot of those teams too, they're okay with having that 17-day layoff to have that exposure for their program and hopefully build some, girls and boys up from a younger age and really start building that program and start filtering those kids in from the middle school into the high school, as all successful programs eventually do.
And I feel like, we talked to a lot of coaches at the end of the season when they're going for tournament time, and they don't want the bye week because they don't want that much time off. They don't want their teams to get cold between the last game they had and maybe a 14-day break. But I feel like that's not as much of a worry in the beginning of the season because, obviously at the end of the season, you've been working. And if you stop, it's easy for those muscles to just kind of get a little atrophied. Beginning of the season, maybe that big break, not as big of a factor as it would be for coaches thinking about it at the end of the season when they're going into tournament time.
And I think the biggest thing to talk about too is just the fact that these kids, these coaches, they're putting this on. They're starting their season a lot earlier than they normally would. It is up to you as a community, and I'm calling out communities. It's up to you as a community to go out and support them heavily tonight because they're playing their season early. They're doing this as a showcase for the community to have something to do on a Friday night. Not much else you're going to be doing in a Friday night that you could be doing that's going to be much better than watching some of these area soccer teams, I think, and some of the talent that's on these teams. So go check them out. Go support, too, a huge docket of games that are going to be in area schools tonight. Just check them out and support, man, because they're doing this for us to have something to hold us over until football starts. So go out and support the teams, man. Let's see a viewership spike in soccer tonight.
And if you're JFK, Girard, Canfield, or South Range, which are the ones that are in the community, there's the other doubleheader in Steubenville. But if you're one of those communities, you got two games that you can go to in one night, and it's a double dip. Girard girls are hosting JFK, and then their boys will host JFK after. And South Range girls are hosting Canfield, and the boys will play right after. So if you're part of either one of those four communities, you can't get any. You go there at 5, you stay there until 9. You got 2 soccer games back to back. No better way to support your community than a full night of soccer.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see Salem start their season too, because I'm excited to see what Coach Bailey is going to be doing, managing both the boys and the girls soccer team. But we talked with him. I really loved our interview with him. I really loved what he had to say about both those programs too. So I'm really excited to see how he handles those programs and how both those programs do this season.
That game will be the first the christening of that very unique coaching carousel that they have at Salem that Mike Bailey was talking about. 3 guys basically just coach both programs and trade off the baton whenever they need to. First game to see how that has really come to fruition. We'll see the results and how the summer of having 3 coaches coach both teams, what kind of impact that has on the program. We're going to get some results tonight to talk about how the team was prepared in the whole summer.
Yeah, and you know what? It might be one of those things that there's going to be kind of a learning curve to it, or there's going to be hiccups early on, or it might be where they come out of the gate strong. We've really never seen too many teams do something of this nature before. So, to be really managing both the boys and girls soccer teams, at the same time in a kind of a round table of coaching with 3 coaches, it's going to be interesting too, because that means that those 3 coaches have to have a strong foundation of we have the same game plan, the same culture, the same philosophy, or else you're going to get, I think, a little bit of changing game to game. And you don't want too much changing with these girls and boys at a young age where they're just absorbing everything as an athlete. You don't want to have too much mixed signals and mixed information go in their head. But I think Coach Bailey has done a phenomenal job with not only his coaching staff, but just with these kids in general, getting them ready for the season. He's passionate about the sport. And that's the one thing you could say. It's not just a soccer coach that just became a coach because there was nothing else to do or because they needed one for the team. He's been passionate about this sport for years, and he truly loves doing it. So the idea of coaching 2 teams instead of 1 was almost a dream come true, I think, for Coach Bailey, and he likes the challenge that it presents.
It'll be real interesting to see that dynamic happen when it's the middle, when the both seasons get into full swing, and the girls are playing on a Monday, boys are playing on Tuesday, girls are playing on Wednesday, boys are playing on Thursday, and the girls play on Saturday. It's going to be a full week schedule of trying to balance game practice. And I know he said that they've already, of course, worked that whole schedule out to where they'll never have a practice overlap with the game, and they'll all be able to navigate that. But having it on paper is one thing, and then executing it when the season starts, that's another thing. And I think seeing how they handle it, I have all the confidence in the world for them because we talked to Mike Bailey in person. But at the same time, it's going to be fun to kind of see how it actually gets executed because they have the perfect plan on paper. And sometimes perfect plans on paper need a little bit of adjustment when you get to that point. So
if
it's gonna be
Coach
really fun to
Bailey,
see how they execute it.
and I'll say it here on Running Point first, if Coach Bailey gets both of these teams, if that coaching staff can get both of these teams into the playoffs, coaching both teams with practices, I have to say, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me, that is one of, if not the strongest coaching staff in the area. You could talk just soccer. You could talk all sports too. I think you have to say that's one of the best coaching staffs in the area. And I already think it's one of the best because they've taken on the boys and girls. But if you can get the boys and girls to the playoffs in your first year, can you imagine that? Like, that's already a hard task to take one team to the playoffs. And it's not to say that it's out of the realm of possibility because Salem has two very talented soccer teams over there. So that it's very possible. But just the work and the preparation that you need to do to get a team playoff ready. If Coach Bailey and his guys can do it with two teams before the playoffs, that's going to be incredible.
And very possible that Mike Bailey could win girls and boys coach of the year.
That would be
head coach of both.
what a feat to accomplish in your coaching career. And there might be some higher ups that are calling Coach Bailey if he wins a boys and a girls player or coach of the year. That'd be incredible.
Not too many people can say that they swept the soccer coach of the year. They won the girls and the boys.
He better get his resume out there after that because there's a lot of people looking at him after that. But the funny thing is too, Anthony, you bring it up, and it's not out of the realm again of possibility for Coach Bailey to do that because these Salem teams have the pieces to be so successful.
I'll tell you what, if they both have successful seasons, he'll be in the talk when we're discussing at YSN internally on our postseason awards. He'll definitely be in the conversation because doing that and managing both goes into the conversation. We, every postseason we have a staff conversation about our postseason awards, and we look at stuff like that, like what kind of adversity the coach went through. We don't just look at records. So if he's able to have successful seasons in both, that'll definitely be part of the conversation when we have them internally about who gets our postseason awards.
Also might single-handedly, him and his coaching staff might change the way coaching is done in the high school level with this. And you might see other teams adopt this where they put both genders under one kind of culture and umbrella where they're different, they're separate, but they're together in a sense where the culture is the same across both sports, but you're just playing the sports a little bit different because you have boys and girls, obviously. So the sports are going to be played a little bit differently, but mostly in soccer, and that's the beautiful thing, is most of the things are around the same for boys and girls soccer. So you could have that culture be pretty much the same all the way around without missing a beat. And I think it's an incredible thing that I think Coach Bailey and his staff are doing over there. And I'm just thoroughly impressed with how challenging it is, but they're ready and willing to accept the challenge, man.
And you brought it up. I mean, we asked Coach Bailey, like, what are the differences between the two? And he said there's almost no difference between the boys soccer style that he's going to run and the girls soccer style. They're both going to be very aggressive. They're both going to go after the ball, and it's a unique in its sport because even in girls basketball and boys basketball, the fundamentals are all the same, but there's a couple of strategic differences between the two games. And Mike Bailey said flat out in girls and boys soccer, at least from his perspective, the strategy and the game plans don't change at all. He's going to handle them both with the exact same mentality, exact same game plans. And, it's going to be a great feat. The girls open the season tonight at United, and he talked about how they're slowly but surely turning into big rivals for Salem. So a big night for the Quakers as they do open the season at United. The boys also open the season at United a little bit later. So both the Quakers teams opening with a upcoming rival that is a non-conference rival in United that they say that they've been kind of building that rivalry over the last couple of years. United, of course, beat Springfield. The girls beat Springfield out of the district semifinals last year, and Springfield was undefeated up to that point. So United bringing a lot back too. We're definitely going to get a chance to catch up with that team before the season's over. We're going to take a quick time out. On the other end, we will start our volleyball previews of 2021 with the Division I slate. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up next on ysnlive.com. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends: shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell on this Friday afternoon, and we start our volleyball previews in Division I, Ty. And let's start with the Fitch Falcons, a team that you're going to be pretty familiar with this season, covering the Falcons as the play-by-play announcer. Let's talk about what they lost, what they're bringing back, and what to expect from the Falcons in 2021.
Well, I mean, if we want to look at some players that are going to be coming back, I think you can't go any further than Alyssa Leskovac and Jocelyn Jordan. We already had them on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. But Jocelyn Jordan, we talk about her changing positions, had 172 kills last year and a 43% kill percentage, just under 44% in the kill percentage. And you know that already off the bat, if you're got 172 kills under your belt, Anthony, and you're hitting it about 50% of the time, or right around that 50% mark, you're doing something right. That means the amount of swings and the amount of tacks that you're taking, you're ending up with some points on the other end pretty much every time.
Just for people that don't, that basically means 172 kills, and what was it, 44%?
Roughly around, we'll say 400 shots, a little bit, around 400 shots. Yeah,
it's 44% of her swings were kills. That's what kill percentage means. It's not hitting percentage, which has to minus errors over total attacks. Yeah. Hitting percentage, a good one is a little bit lower than 44. A good hitting percentage for an individual is probably around 300. But
Kill
Kill
percentage.
kill percentage of 44% is very good, very high. It means that she's putting the ball in play a lot, and she swings really well from the opposite side. She's not a outside hitter; she's an opposite hitter. So Alyssa Leskovac returning for a very strong senior season, but the Falcons also have 7 seniors on the team.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, Jocelyn Jordan is one we talked about too. Alyssa Leskovac, the other senior, or the senior this year, the one that has 131 kills. She had her kill percentage was just over 28.5%. Some other players too to kind of look at. Other than that, some players that were lost, I should say, at least from last year before we get into more of the players. Chelsea Wheeler is probably going to be one of your biggest ones, responsible for 240 kills last year on over a 41% percentage, as well as Fisher as well. You lose Alex Fisher, who also had 121 kills last year. Kate McGuire, too, had 116. All of McGuire over 42% and Fisher over 32%. So you get some really efficient kill getters out there in Wheeler, McGuire, and Fisher that you lose from last year to this year. But some returning pieces and some pieces that I think are really ready to make the next step for the Falcons.
Yeah, and you know what? In Fisher and McGuire, they both were in the middle of the they were in the middle blocker position. Wheeler was an outside hitter, a great outside hitter for them. They also lose their setter, Emma Bartlett. I mean, despite bringing back 7 seniors, we can't discount the fact that Fitch is losing quite a bit. Now, we talked to Coach Bartlett, and she is very confident in what they're returning. They're going to move Jocelyn Jordan to the outside, which should strike fear in the hearts of everybody that plays Fitch, because she was hard enough to deal with in the middle, but now they're going to be able to move her around and run her on slides in the outside, which, whew.
At 2.2 kills per set, too, for Jocelyn Jordan. Something pretty scary that she's going to have a lot more room to up that number and get it into the 3s and 4s category, and that's going to be scary in itself.
She's going to have a lot better time being able to take away the pins on defense, too, in the block category. I believe she had 50 total blocks last year, if I remember correctly. And I think like 12 solo blocks and the rest being block assists. But so a good blocker on the outside that's going to be protecting the pins. And one of the big things that they returned, and I don't think people talk about, they're returning their libero in Ella Solly, which will be huge because everything starts with defense. Everything starts with making good passes. And she's going to be one of the better liberos in not just in the conference, but in the area. And that's going to be important to getting the ball to a setter that's going to be taking over the full-time setting position in Aaron Burke. So I think Ella Solly might be sneakily one of the most important returning players for the Fitch Falcons.
And I mean, you very well can see her step up to it. I mean, this was a team that's been built pretty well over the course of the year. So, I mean, replacing seniors with seniors now. Right. And I mean, they have a boatload of juniors and sophomores ready to take the next few years' place. It's just a program that they've really focused on building up. And that is why I think Fitch is one of the best volleyball programs in the area, is because they take it super serious at such a young age to build these girls up all the way through the ranks and get to the high school level and start filtering them into that program. So again, the Falcons just replacing talent with more talent, like they do in so many sports. It might not be one of the big 3 sports that always gets talked about, but it is in other athletics, and the Falcons certainly do shine in all athletics at that school.
I think if Burke can show consistency in the center's position, we've seen her excel. She had to come in a tournament game last year against Perry, played excellently, and the Fitch was able to win that match in 5 sets. So she's definitely proven she can do it. She just has to prove that she can do it consistently throughout the long stretch of a volleyball season. And we know volleyball can be very long, not in the sense of long months, but it's long weeks, because they don't play for a long time as far as months. The regular season is usually done in October, but they're playing 3 or 4 matches a week. So she has to be able to do it consistently through that long stretch of matches, and I think that'll be the biggest question mark for Fitch. But a lot of weapons for her to go to, and she should have a pretty solid defense when they're returning Solly, who was such a good libero for them last year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Fitch is going to see some of the same success that they've seen in years prior, and you might even see them see a little bit more success, because I think they're really set up well, height-wise, too. You look at some around this team, obviously Jocelyn Jordan is one that we're all going to point to, standing over 6 foot, but I mean, this is just a group of girls that have a decent amount of height all around anyway. So it's a team that is going to be, I think, very fun to watch, and just has a lot of multi-sport athletes on it as well, which I think is huge and a big key to it. Seeing all these athletes that are congregated in Austintown, all kind of joined together for the volleyball team. And I mean, they've had very successful seasons as a volleyball squad, and I don't think it's hard pressed to expect anything different from the Falcons this year.
And the one, when you talk about Jocelyn Jordan, I mean, obviously she's moving to the outside. She's going to be asked to swing a lot more than she was last year. So I want that hitting percentage to go up a little bit. You said it was like 22, 23.
Hitting percentage for her was 30, just a little bit over 30% hitting percentage, 43% kill percentage.
All right, so we want that to go up just a little bit because she's going to be having more swings, more responsibility from the outside. So I'm expecting a very successful season from Fitch. Let's look at their schedule. I know their schedule is really tough. What do the Falcons have in front of them in 2021?
Yeah, let me just pull that up for you real quick, and we'll talk about their whole schedule for 21. There we go. Everything taking a second here to load up on my end of the site. All right. So the Falcons this year, they are opening up. Let's see if I can get their thing pulled up again. There we go. So they are opening up with Ursuline on the 24th. So that's a Tuesday, I believe. In August, they go to Howland. That's a home game, excuse me. It's home game versus Ursuline on the 24th. Home game versus Howland on the 26th. Away versus Marlington the 28th. Away versus Cardinal Mooney the 31st. Home versus Canfield the 2nd of September. Away versus Boardman the 7th. Away versus Harding the 9th. Home versus Cheney the 16th. Home versus Cardinal from Middlefield on the 18th. That's a 9 a.m. game on a Saturday. You also have a 10:30 game on Saturday against Poland and Strongsville on 12. So a tournament going on the 18th of September. The 21st, they're away versus Howland. 23rd, away versus Louisville. 25th, away versus Perry. That'll be a good game. The 25th, also away versus Dover. So they're probably playing in a little bit of a game there. I think a tournament game there, as they have a pair of games scheduled for the 25th. The 30th, home versus Harding. Then going into October, the 5th, they're home versus East. 7th, home versus Boardman. 11th, away versus Poland. 12th, away versus Canfield. 14th, away versus Strongsville. And finally, away versus Highland at an 11 o'clock Saturday game on October 16th to round out the season for the Falcons.
What a schedule. And there are two games that I'm circling, and one of them's Canfield, because Canfield and Fitch, both very competitive volleyball teams, both very strong volleyball programs, and anytime they get together, it's a fun one, and that's going to be really big in the AAC this year. And then that game when they're going to Perry, Perry is gonna. They split last year. Perry won in the regular season, Fitch won in the tournament in 5. It's just going to be a very hard-nosed, very competitive, very revenge-seeking match between Fitch and Perry. That's one of the ones that I'm circling.
Part of a very tough away schedule. You go Howland, Louisville, Perry, Dover. I mean, that's a tough away schedule, especially, but going Louisville and Perry back-to-back, that's going to be a perfect stretch of road games, I think, for the Falcons. Right end of September, get them prepared for tournament time, but those are going to be a couple of matches, too, where you might see both of them go 5 sets. Easily both of them can go 5 sets, I think.
I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's a quad match that they're hosting on the 18th with it'll be them, Poland.
Yeah, it's Cardinal, Poland, and Strongsville
Cardinal,
on the 18th.
Poland, and Strongsville plus Fitch, so 4 teams in one day. So obviously Poland will play Strongsville, and Fitch will play Poland, and Cardinal will play Poland, and they'll have to play each other. A day full of volleyball.
It'll be fun too to see that Poland versus Fitch matchup too. Not a matchup we get to see too often in the volleyball sense. That early on in the season or in a tournament sort of sense like that. Well, usually those are just big games that happen at night. But now you get Poland in a tournament at 10 in the morning or at 10 or 11:30 in the morning. I can't remember if they're the first or second game. I could check on here. But, I mean, you get them bright and early in the morning in the middle of a tournament. Going to be interesting to see how the Falcons play them because we know Poland a big rival of Fitch.
And those tri-matches, they still count for your record, but because of the amount of volleyball that's being played, they play 3 sets. So you have to win 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 5. in those ones. So it's going to be,
It's an underdog's dream too, because an underdog could come out in there and win some sets.
9 a.m. You better be ready because you can't drop a set and come back. I mean, you drop a set in the tri match, you can be in trouble really quick, down 1-0 in a best 2 out of 3.
You already know how much winning that first set means in a traditional 5-set volleyball game, though, Anthony. But in a traditional volleyball match, I should say. But imagine doing that in a 3-set match. Right. Now you're winning that first set. That means so much more now because there is no room for mistakes. Then if you lose that first set now.
The only difference is the third set wouldn't be played to 15 like the 5th set is in a 5. But I mean, you're playing 3 sets to 25. You still drop the first one. All of a sudden, you're down 1 set to 0, and you have to win 2 sets in a row, both to 25, both win by 2. You could be in trouble, especially early in the morning. This would be really interesting to see that quad match at Fitch on the 18th.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy, is it just exciting to see volleyball come back into it. And I mean, it's going to be exciting with full crowds being back. I mean, we talk about football too, and a lot of people were mentioning football, and a lot of people mentioned basketball as being the two that they really missed having fans in the stands for. And I think volleyball fans are kind of sitting there saying, hey, what about us as well? Because there's a lot of area volleyball teams where the community comes out and they support in bunches for their volleyball team, and I'm excited to see that come back this fall.
I think the players really missed the fans more than the fans maybe say they missed volleyball, because momentum is so big in volleyball and the crowd is such a big momentum swinger that these volleyball teams last year had to kind of try to build their own energy, and you could just tell that some of them struggled with it. They need that crowd energy to build the momentum and to keep it. It's one of the biggest things in volleyball is the momentum swing. You want to go on long 5, 6, 7 point runs. A lot easier to do that when you have a crowd behind you giving you energy. So I think all the players we've talked to and all the coaches we've talked to have emphasized how much they have missed the crowd on their end.
Yeah, and I think the crowd plays an effect in pretty much every sport at the high school level, and it's a huge factor in every sport, and it goes all the way to the professional level. I think the crowd always plays a factor in pretty much every sport, and I think COVID really took that aspect away and forced teams to learn how to win and learn how to play without having that element of the crowd be a factor in each game. The only game and the only sport I would think that didn't miss a beat would probably be golf from last year to this year, where they didn't really have, because the crowd's not rompous and rowdy in high school golf either. I mean, they could get a little bit loud, but I mean, that's probably the one sport that really didn't skip a beat from COVID until now. But every other sport, you're missing something.
Golf clap?
Yeah, we could do the golf clap. But I mean, again, I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. I don't know if golf matches really did change, and that's actually a great question to ask Brian Tolnar on Wednesday, and that's going to be one I think I'm going to save for Wednesday.
Write that down, Ty.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about that on Wednesday and see how much golf changed, or if there was even much of a change from COVID year to this year. Because I didn't see any from an outsider looking in, but there could have been a lot more intricacies inside in golf that I was unaware of during the last season. So definitely going to be interesting to talk to Brian about that, I think.
So to wrap things up, we definitely expect a lot from Fitch. Do you have on your screen? Do you have their record from last year, just to remind me?
I could pull it up. Yeah, I should be able to get that for you last year. Let me just scroll down.
I'm not entirely confident in memory.
18-5 is what I have for the Falcons for last year.
And I believe, if this is just memory, I believe they split with Canfield. They definitely lost to Perry, and those are 2 games on their schedule this year. Again, of course, Canfield in the league, and Perry going to Perry this year. So it'll be fun to see the Fitch Falcons try to take the next step.
Well, if you want the 5 that they lost, I'll run it through for you real quick. They lost 3-2 in sets to Highland last year. They lost 3-0 to Perry in regular, 3-0 to Canfield, 3-1 to Louisville, and 3-0 to Nordonia. And then every other ones we saw Perry in tournament time, they won 3-2, as you said. But I mean, big wins too. I mean, Poland 3-0, Harding 3-0, Louisville, they beat them at home 3-2. So Louisville, another one of those teams that they split with last year. We mentioned that will be a good matchup too. But I mean, looking at this schedule, I mean, Holland is going to be, I think, drastically improved. You have a win against Canfield, you split with Canfield 3-2 and then 3-0. that's another interconference matchup. You see Louisville, you see Perry, you see Canfield. All three teams you split with last year. I think those are the three biggest matchups on the Falcons docket this year.
And let's make the segue and go from Fitch to Canfield, stay in the AAC, and talk about the Cardinals and what they are looking at in 2021.
Yeah, well, pulling up the Canfield Cardinals, looking into this year, I think the one player you kind of have to talk about that they lost is Havrilla, Elena Havrilla. We know AJ plays for the baseball team, but Elena Havrilla was huge for them last year at 137 kills on a 27% percentage, as well as Chaplow too. Aaron Chaplow is no longer there. She had 124 kills on a 36% kill percentage, which was phenomenal too. So you lose a couple of seniors too. Morgan Schneider too is no longer there. That's going to be another big loss. But I think they're going to have some pieces to try to make up that. Abby McElroy is going to be, I think, one of the big names to watch for. I think they're going to be pushing her into a lot larger role going into her junior year, as well as some other names too. Allie Quirk is another one too that I think you might see a lot more playing time and a lot more big minutes from this year too. As well, I mean, I think this is a Canfield Cardinals team that has a lot of young players. They're missing some from the seniors that departed last year, but I think Canfield, like Fitch, is one of those schools that really has built their program up very well the last few years, that I think they're going to be able to insert a lot of these players into these missing holes, and they'll be able to find the same success that they had last year.
Yeah, and you can't talk about Canfield without talking about Abby Householder. I mean, she might be the best hitter in the area as far as velocity off her hands and how hard she hits the ball. Such power, such great arm speed from Householder, and they're returning her for her, I believe, her senior season.
Yep. Abby Householder coming back senior.
So she's going to be playing at the next level. That's no doubt. And Householder is going to be the big name to watch out for when you talk about Canfield volleyball. Like I said, I think when it comes to arm speed and when it comes to velocity off the hand, no one matches Abby Householder in hitting in the area.
Yeah, I wanted to leave her there for you to talk about her because I know you're a big fan of Householder yourself. So I wanted to let you talk about her, but to talk and run through her stats too.
Let's run through her stats because you have them in front of you.
416 kills on a 43% kill percentage.
Ty, that is ridiculous numbers. Ridiculous.
285 hit percentage too. So if there's anything really to improve, I guess Householder can improve that hit percentage a little bit. But I mean, even then,
with that amount of swings, 285 is immaculate. I mean,
and if you can improve that even a little bit too, can you imagine if that's in the 300s with that many swings? That's going to be insane too. Also, the other big loss too, and I forgot to mention her, and I don't want to go without mentioning her too. Grace Roscoe was a huge loss too. That's another big one I forgot to mention. 200 plus kills.
Yeah, and she came out of the middle. Like, she was a middle blocker, and Canfield's going to probably, if they're going to take a step back, it's going to be in their defense and their blocking ability. Because Roscoe really, really controlled the middle of the net. They're going to have to find other ways to get blocks from their middles, but they have Coach Brooklyn Scott, who's one of the great young coaches in the area. She'll find a way to get them net defense, no doubt.
You might be seeing some Householder versus Jocelyn Jordan matchups, Fitch versus Canfield, and that's going to be a fun back and forth.
Both on the outside. We saw them play each other twice last year. Now, Fitch had two middles that they lose in Fisher and McGuire. So it's going to be interesting to see how Fitch's defense handles that matchup with Householder and how their blockers can roam the net and go back and forth. And obviously Canfield's going to be trying to move Householder over as much as they can.
It's two D1 teams that are in the same conference that are going to be fighting with each other to try to make deep runs into the playoffs. And they're going to have to run into each other at some point, and it's just something's got to give. And they're two programs that are in pretty much the same boat, both returning a lot talent-wise, but both have some holes that they're going to need to fill going into the season. We'll see which team handles those off-season departures a little bit better and is able to fill those holes.
And Canfield ran a 6-2 last year. Now with Quirk coming back, they might transition a little bit into a 5-1 and make her the full rotation setter. With that being said, if she is the full rotation setter, you're going to have to trust her a little bit at the net with your net defense. So we're going to have to see how Quirk can handle blocking, because last year she set out of the back row exclusively. 6-2 just means you rotate two setters and you always have six hitters in the front row. So if you're always playing back row, you're not worrying about blocking, of course. So now Quirk's gonna have to step into that. Maybe I don't know if they're gonna play a 5-1. We'll have to wait and see. But if they do play a 5-1, she's gonna have to come up into that blocking and prove herself as a asset on the net for defense.
Yeah, and I mean them as a team. You look at them as a team. Canfield as a team is one where I want to look at the hitting percentage overall as a team. If that improves even a little bit from last year, I think is going to be good because as a team they hit 0.19, so a 19% hitting percentage as a team. If you get that into the numbers, into the 20s, into the 20 percentage, 0.20, it's kind of like batting average. So that's why we're talking the 0.20 thousand is 100% overall. But 0.20, if you could get that as a team over that, I think you're going to see Canfield start winning a lot more games. And don't get me wrong, them as a team last year was already tremendous. They were also 18-5 as well, just like the Falcons. So, I mean, I expect the same success from the Cardinals this year as well. But I think if there's one area that you're looking at, because every team wants to improve on something going into the offseason, if they could get that hit percentage up just a little bit, I think Canfield is poised to make a good run in the playoffs.
Yeah, if Canfield's hitters can go into a team hitting percentage of maybe 220, then that'll be, I mean, 220, 230 is a great hitting percentage for a team. So if they can get a little bit more efficient with their swings. And the other thing that Canfield did struggle with last year is giving up leads. They had a lot of 2-0 leads that they kind of gave up and saw the other team come back. I believe their Boardman win, actually. When Boardman beat them at home, I did this game. Canfield was up 2-0 and lost the match 3-2 at Boardman. And you can't give up 2-0 leads when you're up 2-0. You got to be able to finish matches.
And you got to figure that the experience of having that last year and having games like that last year is going to help Canfield going into this year. And I think you'll see the Cardinals start closing out a lot more games and being a lot more efficient in closing matches out and winning that third set and 5-set matches to come away victorious in a lot more. So the 5 losses too. I mean, we said they split too with Fitch last year, but I mean, there's tough competition in the area. So I mean, you expect every team to pick up a couple of losses here and there, but I mean, the biggest thing is just improving year to year, and I think Canfield is poised to do that with the players they have.
Yeah, when you're talking about not giving up those leads, it's all. I mean, volleyball is very up and down, and you cannot get 2 down or 2 up. And I think Canfield just has to focus this year on being a little bit more even keel. One of our coaches talks about that.
Coach Bailey.
Is it Bailey?
Yeah.
What was his
Stay
his
even.
phrase? Stay even. You gotta stay even.
That's one of my favorite things too, and I keep bringing it up too. And I bring it up in my personal life because it is such a great coaching philosophy and coaching motto because it does work for life. And I think I asked Coach Bailey that during that interview too, about things he teaches his players, outside of soccer, life lessons. And I think that was it. That's within soccer and outside of soccer. And I think that's one of the marks of a fantastic coach is that if you could have your coaching lessons carry over to life and it's almost a seamless transition to where you could say stay even applies to this, but it could also apply to anything. I think that's where you have some of the best coaches. And I think that's why Coach Bailey is one of the best just because he's got me thinking about that too. I think about that day to day about just stay even. And I think that's a great motto.
Volleyball, very important. I mean, you might lose 3 or 4 points in a row, but you let it turn into 5, 6, 7, 8. You got to be able to get through the valleys of a match. Inevitably, you're going to lose a couple of points in a row. Got to be able to stay even in volleyball. Canfield struggled with that a little bit last year. They got really high when they were winning well, but when things got a little rocky, they got really low, and you could see the energy kind of die down. That's why they lost a couple of 2-0 leads last year. So they got to manage that. But 1 year of experience, 1 year under their belt, it should be a lot easier to be able to handle that. Let's talk about their schedule and what they have looking in front of them in 2021.
Yeah, looking at, they actually open it up this Thursday, so less than a week, this upcoming Thursday versus Akron Coventry. That's going to be an away game, so they're going out to Akron to face Coventry on the 19th of August. Go into the 24th of August to face Hoban away, then Cardinal Mooney away on the 26th, and then again Coventry on the 30th away. They finally come home on the 31st of August to face Ursuline at home before going right back on the road the 2nd of September to face the Falcons away. Come back home for a stretch of home games the 7th of September where they face off against Harding, and then Boardman on the 9th, East the 16th, and Tuscawaras Valley the 18th, and an 11:30 a.m. start on a Saturday. They go back on the road to face Lakeview the 20th of September and Cheney the 23rd before returning home for a brief one-game stint against Howland the 28th of September and going back out to face the Spartans the 30th in an away game before returning back home to face the South Range Raiders and a pair of Campfield's finest on the 4th of October. That one says it's an 11 p.m. game on a Monday. I don't believe that. That's probably an 11 a.m. game. So,
11 p.m. We're playing deep.
Yeah, 11 p.m. Well, it's funny because it was right after that one. I'm seeing Howland Tuesday, the 5th of October, is a 6 a.m. game. And I don't think they're playing 11 p.m. on Monday and 6 a.m. on Tuesday the next day. But we'll say that's an 11 a.m. game on Monday for South Range. I would think if it's October 4th, though, there must be a holiday or something in conjunction on why they're playing so early. That one we're going to have to get confirmation on. But so far, South Range on the docket for Monday, October 4th. That's going to be a home game away versus Howland Tuesday the 5th, and then home versus Fitch to close out the season on the 12th of October.
Obviously, Brandon McPherson, one of the guys so excited about us signing Wyndham, which we announced yesterday on Running Point, and we are so happy to bring in the Bombers as a part of the YSN family. We are actively reaching out and trying to get members of Wyndham to come on and talk about the excitement of being partnered with YSN on Running Point. And me and Ty and everyone at YSN couldn't be more excited to start our coverage of Wyndham, including Wyndham volleyball, which will include our Division 4 breakdown a little bit later on next week.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll get to you too. All the new teams we'll get to your previews as well. Luckily too, I think we'll be able to get through the volleyball because we're doing it by divisions and not conferences. I think we're going to be able to get through volleyball in a little bit less amount of days than football. And I think that was the whole goal, was to make sure we try to preview these teams before the season starts if we can.
Hopefully, like I don't think we've mathed it out, but hopefully Wednesday is the last day of volleyball previews. We go right into Thursday where we're talking about the football opening the season. Obviously, Friday's going to be jam-packed of football games to preview. So Wednesday should be Division 4 if me and Ty time it right.
Yeah, and of course we would love to do previews for each sport, but I mean, this kind of, remember that the whole new era of YSN kind of started randomly. It just kind of happened at spur of the moment that the new era of Running Point happened. So I mean, we would have loved to have a little bit more time to preview each sport, but that's why we're doing things like bringing the soccer coaches on, because we know we're not going to be able to get to every sport, but we want to represent every sport as best as we can. So we're talking the tennis, we're talking the soccer on here when we can, because we know we're not going to be able to preview every fall sport because we weren't granted enough time when this beautiful show fell into our laps.
All right, back to Canfield's schedule. Remind me, did we finish reading through the whole schedule?
We did. They ended the season October 12th, home versus the Falcons of Fitch on Tuesday.
Talk about a big season finale.
Yeah, I mean, other games too. The away games that open up with Coventry, Hoban, and Mooney are going to be tough, and then Coventry again. So you have two.
That's odd. Going to Coventry and then going back to Coventry a little bit later.
Yeah, and going to Hoban too, which we know Hoban is pretty good athletics-wise. I'm actually not too sure on what their volleyball team did last year to this year, but I would think that's a big matchup. And Mooney always is. Coventry
volleyball is legit.
Coventry. I know Coventry is up there. I wasn't sure on Hoban though, because I know Hoban's pretty talented in a vastly other sports, but I wasn't sure if volleyball was one of those that was included.
We'll do some research.
Yeah, and I know Cardinal Mooney's one of those teams that I feel like is definitely going to be coming back next year. Last year struggled a little bit, 10-15 record, but I think that's a team that's going to be vastly improved from year one to year
10-15, but they made a deep run in the tournament. I mean, we'll talk about, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because Mooney's Division 3, and we'll talk about them on Tuesday. But Mooney made a deep run in the tournament, got all the way to, I believe, the district championship game against Crestview, and actually gave Crestview a pretty good volleyball match.
And that they're the type of team we talk about too, that they don't really care too much about what happens in the regular season. They just need to get to the tournament, and then it's go time once they do. And that's going to be a tough team. And don't worry, we'll be talking about them. And I think they'll be on the docket. It looks like for Tuesday next week if everything goes as planned.
Yeah, and talk about Canfield schedule again. I mean, that road stretch to start the game is tough. Then they have a tough enough schedule as it is with the teams in their league that they play in Boardman and Fitch.
So let me correct this too, because I just found out. So they open the season. So the Coventry game move. It's only one time they're making the trip to Coventry. It is not the 19th, but rather the 30th. They open up the season with Hoban. So it goes Hoban the 24th, Mooney the 26th, and Coventry the 30th. I thought it was a little bit weird at first. That original schedule that I saw, Coventry was scheduled the 19th, but every other game I saw was scheduled the 24th, or just about every other game was the 24th I saw for volleyball. So it was a little bit, and it was also weird that they would have two Coventry away games so close to each other.
And also Canfield, volleyball playing on the same night as their football team.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I'm glad we figured that out. We got that all squared away for you. So yeah, that is the only thing though on the schedule that there was a little bit of a blip in was the beginning. It is opening up with Archbishop Hoban. The 24th is the Cardinals' first volleyball game, and their Coventry game is the 30th at Coventry.
Well, we did the Coventry game last year at Canfield, and it was one of the more exciting matches that we did on the network. Just unbelievable 5-set match. Both teams were so good. They were both digging the ball out of the ground like it was their job. The Coventry has a new volleyball coach this year, of course, so they're going to be under some new management, but I still imagine that they're going to be very good, and that's going to be a really tough trip for Canfield. Also looking at that South Range game towards the end of the season.
That South Range game is going to be big, and actually looking at this too from an email I was sent too, and I'm glad too. And believe me, if we ever we have something or you have new information for us, be sure to let us know too. The end of the season too. Actually, the Austintown Fitch game was, I think, originally scheduled to be the last game, the 12th of October for the final game, but 2 games now I think added, or at least from this newer schedule that I'm looking at, the newer updated one. Poland is now going to be added as a home game the 13th of October, and Girard is now an away game the 14th of October. So the season now ending at Girard High School, and they also pick up Poland, which again is going to be a fun game for a battle of 224.
Yeah, 2 strong teams still to close out the season, but you still get Fitch late, so it's going to be exciting last 3 games in a row there for Canfield.
Especially, too, those back-to-back home games. You get Fitch and Poland, the 12th and 13th of October, both at home and Canfield. Those are going to be 2 huge games that if you could come away with wins against both of them in 5 matches, or 5 sets, I should say, that's going to be huge for Canfield, giving them all the momentum I would think they need going into tournament time.
Yeah, they need momentum in tournaments because one of the things we'll talk about when we wrap up our D1 is just the gauntlet that Division I is in the tournament time. Especially, it's hard to get out of just the districts. For every other division, we talk about getting in the regionals and competing in the regionals. It is a monster just to get out of districts in Division I, and they're going to need as much momentum as possible when you talk about coming into tournament time.
Takes a little bit of luck and a whole lot of skill volleyball time, D1 in the area.
Our district in D1, because we don't have as many D1 schools, of course. I mean, we get the teams from Akron and Massillon in our district. It's just a tough draw.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, we're also sick, I think, of everyone doubting our athletics.
Yeah, we're sick of it.
Ohio. And I mean, we've been representing so well in every sport. JFK winning the baseball tournament. We had Springfield and JFK representing football. We had girls basketball and McDonald representing girls basketball in state. I mean, we've had representatives at the biggest level of almost every sport in this area, and we're sick of national media and the state media dogging on the Youngstown area teams because we have
make a bold prediction this year that one volleyball team from our area is going to take that next step, and we haven't had a regional finalist in a while.
And so, I mean, you're talking D1, a D1
any team.
Okay.
Any team someone in this area, we have too much good volleyball to not see someone in this area take the next step, make it. I mean, I'm just saying at least make it to the regional finals because we haven't had a finalist in a while. It would be great if they make it to Wright State and get into the state tournament. But I mean, I'm just saying right now, this is the year that our teams, at least one of our teams, makes that next step and gets to the regional final.
I would love to see it too, because I mean, for us to keep representing on all fronts, it's an absolute crime that we're not hearing at the state level and at the national level. A lot of girls in our area get their names called in girls volleyball. So I think it's definitely huge that we get a team in there representing, because it's about time someone starts talking about the volleyball talent that's congregated in Northeastern Ohio.
It's so good. We have so many good teams, and we're going to continue our previews next on ysnlive.com. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We'll take a quick break and be back next on YSN Live.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms. It just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sullivan here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Ty Bartell as we have Friday the 13th. Ooh, spooky. On Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We have already previewed Austintown, Fitch, and Canfield, and let's move on to their other league rival in Boardman and talk about the Spartans a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Friday the 13th, but certainly not unlucky for you guys as we're previewing all D1 volleyball teams that we cover in the area. Moving on to the Spartans and some players to, I think, look out for this year. I think you're hard-pressed to not mention coming into this year for her senior year, Jenna Alexa, Anthony, as being one of the players to definitely watch. I think going into her senior year, I think she's going to be probably the new leader going forward. I think kills leader after losing some big names from last year's team. Teams like Maria Torres that is no longer there, 305 kills last year. Katie Stamp no longer being there. It's going to be two big losses, but I really think Jenna Alexa is going to be that next big name, I think, in Boardman Spartans volleyball, and I think she's going to have a huge season this year.
Yeah, Coach Birch down there is going to have to deal with a lot of new faces in the Spartans lineup. They only return 2 people from last year's starting rotation. They lost Katie Stamp and Maria Torres, both going to play at Teal. Catahoro's not there anymore either. Their setter, Reagan Berkey's gone. There's going to be a lot that the Spartans have to kind of find out, and this summer has been so important for them in finding out the new faces and really evaluating who they have and how they're going to navigate this season.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with or how creative they get with it to get these new girls some exposure and experience kind of in the fast track, because you had a lot of seniors, and I mean, some coaches decide to play a lot of seniors and not really worry about developing that next group of girls until the next year. And hey, every coach's philosophy is different, and that's fine. We see it get successful through a various different philosophies. So, but that's just the thing. When you decide to go all seniors last year, you have to kind of get on a fast track, catching these younger girls up and getting up some varsity experience. But there's a lot of good athletes over there in Boardman, and I think a lot of these girls are going to pick it up pretty quickly at the varsity level. And I think you might see an early season slump, some struggles from Boardman, but I think by mid-season, I think the Spartans are going to be primed, and I think they're going to be at full swing, ready to go for the season.
And all 3 of these teams that we've talked about so far, so well coached, and Coach Birch over there in Boardman, no different. Alyssa Birch, her husband, coaches the basketball team, so not to get those two confused. But Coach Birch does a wonderful job. We already had her on Running Point a little bit earlier on the phone lines, and she just talked about how there are new faces that she's very confident in, but this is one of the harder previews because there are so many unknowns. We don't know who they've decided on being their setter. I don't know what kind of rotation they're going to run. I have no idea. I mean, all we know is Jenna Alexa is coming back for her senior year, and she's super powerful, and she's going to swing the ball real well. Everything. There's a lot of unknowns, Ty, a lot of unknowns for Boardman that we're just going to have to wait for their first game to see what the game plan is.
And I think that's going to make Boardman a little bit scary to play too for some teams, because you don't know really what to expect. And I mean, some teams, you look at teams that are rebuilding or trying to build up a program that loses a bunch of seniors. You always think, oh man, what is that team going to do? But you don't really look at the teams that they have to play, and teams that schedule that team that are rebuilding, that had a pretty successful year from year 1 to now. It's kind of daunting a little bit looking at this team and saying, well, what are we really getting ourselves into with this game? And not everything being kind of up in the air and not really knowing. I think it's going to be make for a very interesting season, I think, for the Spartans.
I like that you brought up the fact that the unknown kind of makes them scary. I mean, other teams have no idea what they're going to roll out either, and they're going to have to watch film pretty quickly, especially if you play them early in the season. If you play them like the third or fourth game, that means you only have a couple of games to watch to try to decide what they're doing, what their schemes are, and what their game plan is.
Yeah, and I think it's going to really make for the Spartans surprising some teams early on in the season too. If you're not taking them serious, or if you're thinking they're going to be a pushover because of everything that happened, all of what they lost from last year to this year, I don't think that's the case though with the Spartans. I think Coach Birch is going to have them ready to go by the beginning of the season. And yeah, there might be some hiccups, and some of these new girls might take a couple games to adjust in their newly fitted roles. But I definitely think come mid-season, this was a 16-9 team last year. You're going to see them, I would say, have the same success. Definitely, I think, going to be winning record volleyball for the Spartans this year.
And they upset a handful of people in the tournament. They beat Aurora at home, and they went down to Uniontown Lake and won a tournament game there. That was an upset as well. They ran into, I believe, Canton Hoover, which was, I mean, once again, we talk about Division I in the district that we're in. They ran into Canton Hoover, which was, ranked in the state. Is just, hard to pull off that upset in a sport where it's hard to upset anyway, because let's just talk about it. I mean, in volleyball, you got to be the better team 3 sets out of 5. Really hard to just sneak up on someone and do that.
It's beautiful because like baseball too, there's no time limit, and there's gonna be a winner. There's gotta be a winner, and the way you win is by simply being better than your opponent on that night.
Yep. And
there's no time that comes into it, and that's one of the reasons why I love baseball, is because you have to give your opponent their chance, and you have to beat your opponent. There's no time ran out, and that's why we won. We beat our opponent. We know we beat our opponent because we scored more than our opponent. And I think that's the beautiful thing about volleyball. When you get a win, there is no excuse. There's no looking at that and saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have, or maybe we should have. No, you won, you lost. You have to move on to the next game. And I think that's where that stay even works so well.
And the one, just like baseball, you have to send the ball to your opponent and let them do whatever they're going to do with it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about how they're going to pass it, how they're going to hit.
You have to let them touch the ball. Right, you have to give it to them. So, and I think it's beautiful, and I think it makes her competition. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing too. If we talk about sports too, that if you haven't watched volleyball too, especially in the area, I mean, that's a sport. We talk soccer, we talk tennis, we talk golf. Yeah, there's great talent in that area. But volleyball, I mean, if you're a basketball fan, there's a reason to watch volleyball. If you're a baseball fan, there's a reason to watch volleyball. Heck, if you're even a football fan, I'd say that there's some reason to watch volleyball, because there's aspects of all these sports that are kind of intertwined in volleyball. And I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to volleyball too, and a lot of fun stats to go off of if you're a stat person like me too. Very similar to baseball in the way that stats are used, and there's no time limit. But I mean, basketball, I say, Anthony, because of that fast-paced action, it's very similar to basketball in that really there's not much time where something isn't happening on the volleyball court.
That's very true. There's no dead time in volleyball. I'd say the point was awarded. Server, here's the ball, let's go.
Beautiful thing is too,
especially in college, because they rotate balls, so
you can pretty much watch a 5-set match too in under 2 hours, so it's time efficient too. It's not something that's going to take 3-4 hours of your time. This is something, hey, if you have nothing going on for the next hour or two, throw on a game, man, because there's some great teams in the area.
Hey, if you like high school and you're enjoying it, guess what? YSU volleyball right down the street, which is a Division I program. And then if you go about 45 minutes east, you're going to hit, well, not 45 minutes from me right now, because East Palestine is really close to Pennsylvania, but 45 minutes from where I live, you're going to hit a top 10 team in Division I in Pitt. And Pitt volleyball is ridiculously good. So if you kind of like high school and you like what you're seeing and you want to get hooked on volleyball, go watch it at the elite level. Go watch Division I volleyball. It's just fun. You'll love it. You'll absolutely, you'll never look at volleyball the same way again. And a lot of people say it's boring, it's repetitive. Maybe when you're watching, junior high or people that are trying to learn the fundamentals of the sport, not when you're watching the elite volleyball. It's not boring, it's not repetitive. I promise you, you would be hooked if you were enjoying high school and you're kind of on the fence about volleyball, and then you went to watch the elite level volleyball down at Pitt or YSU or any Division I game. I mean, we're not too far from Penn State, and everyone knows how proud Penn State volleyball is. Go to one of those games, and then you'll see.
Yep.
Really quick.
One of my challenges was watching Friday Night Football tonight, but another one of my challenges, and I think both Anthony and I will happily challenge that, watch more volleyball this season. Even if more volleyball means catching one game when you normally wouldn't catch any in a season, try to watch more volleyball this season because there is a lot of talented players. We're doing a lot of the hard work for you. So if you don't even know volleyball, we're previewing the teams. We're getting players on, talking with them. So maybe you don't know volleyball that well, but we're trying to do some of the heavy lifting. And I mean, Anthony, volleyball guru for you too. I mean, can pretty much talk you through a lot of the teams in the area, has way farther knowledge on me than me in this sport. And I mean, I think I know a decent amount too of the area, but he is absolutely top notch. So I mean, we'll catch you up with it too. We'll get you all where you need to know as far as knowledge base for volleyball in the area.
Stop buttering me up, Ty.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is the only thing you guys really have to do as a fan base is just watch more volleyball games, even if it means one game compared to when you would normally watch none. Just watch more volleyball this season, and we'll do the heavy lifting for you.
Perfect segue to talk about Boardman's schedule and when fans can go watch the Spartans this year in 2021.
So looking at their schedule, and keep in mind if there might be updates and everything. If I get an update on the schedule or if I find anything else out, I'll update that as we go. But as it goes, and the most recent schedule I have in front of me says that Boardman is facing Lakeview in a home game Monday on the 16th of August. That is this upcoming game. I don't know if that's a regular season game. I feel like that might be a scrimmage game, but it's on their docket as a regular game, but I don't think so. Opening up what I would assume would be the start of the regular season would be Monday, the 23rd of August, away versus South Range at 7 p.m. before they go to Salem the 28th at a noon start game. Or excuse me, before Salem comes to them for a noon start game. They play home versus Poland on the 30th of August. They play away at Howland on the 2nd of September. Play home versus Crestview on noon on Saturday, September 4th. Home versus Fitch on the 7th of September. Away versus Canfield on the 9th. Canton Central Catholic, they play on the 11th. This is a part of two games that they play on the 11th. Saturday at 11, that was a Canton Central Catholic, followed by Glen Oak at 12 on the 11th. Thursday the 16th, they play Howland at home. The 18th, Perry, they play at home. The 20th of September, they play Hubbard away. 23rd, Cardinal Mooney comes in to play Boardman. The 25th, Girard visits. The 28th, they go to play Harding. The 30th, Canfield in their second matchup with the Cardinals. They play them at home. And then going into October, the two games I have for them is Oak Glen from West Virginia. They play October 2nd at 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday start. And Thursday, October 7th, a 7 p.m. game away at Austintown Fitch to close out their season. There might be games that have been added to the end of the season or the beginning. I'm not entirely sure yet, but this is the latest schedule that I have in front of me for the Boardman Spartans. So any updates, of course, we will update you on ysnlive.com. But I'm going off of the
beginning sounds solid. Schedule. Most teams are starting on the 23rd, 24th, or the Saturday before the 21st. So the beginning sounds pretty solid. The end, they might have added a couple of games because
I feel like it ends on October 7th feels a little bit early. So there might be some games that they add, or they might not even have games that they've added yet, but they have intentions to adding at the end of the season.
Well, I'm looking forward to, opening the season with South Range is a big one to circle. Both teams trying to figure some stuff out, lost big members of the team last year. And both teams are going to have to figure it out pretty quick. And that opener at South Range might be a big one.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be a big one, but also not shying away. They play Perry as well. Yep. You got Hubbard on there. You throw Canton Central Catholic, Glen Oak. I mean, Poland's on the docket too. So I mean, some very good programs that they've scheduled. Has Boardman trying to really give themselves some stiff competition during the regular season.
They play Glen Oak and they play Oak Glen.
Yeah, Glen Oak and Oak Glen, and this one is in Ohio, one's in West Virginia.
Glen Oak is the one that they're going to be in the Division I district. Boardman Center. I love that these teams are playing teams that they're going to probably see in the district for volleyball. They're playing the Perrys. They're playing Glen Oak. You might see a Uniontown Lake on a schedule here They're playing teams that they know they're going to have to get through if they want to win a district championship.
And I mean, even playing teams that they won't even see again throughout the tournament, teams like the Oak Glens from West Virginia, just trying to get different looks and trying to get different. You might see a team that plays a style similar to Oak Glens, and I think that's the biggest key for Boardman is they just want to try to get a smorgasbord, I guess, or a buffet of different offenses and defenses and teams that you're going to be looking at, because you have such a younger team that's trying to step in, a lot of younger varsity girls that are trying to step into these bigger roles. So you want to give them as many different looks, different teams, and different strategies that they're going to have to face up against to get them ready come tournament time. And I think this was a smart schedule by Coach Birch.
And we've talked about this with other volleyball coaches. There's not a lot of gym time once the season starts for volleyball teams. They're playing 3 or 4 matches a week. You might get a practice in if you're lucky, maybe 2 a week. So you got to be able to adjust from game to game, and seeing how the young kids do it at Boardman, being able to adjust at the varsity level from game to game, going to be very interesting, especially early in the season.
I think it's going to be huge to see too. And I think that beginning of the season is going to be tell all. How can they get through it? Are they going to labor through it, or are they going to be able to survive through that beginning of the season, come out maybe with a 500 record or winning record? But can you get through that tough stretch? Because you go South Range, Salem, Poland, bam, 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 right to start. And these are all programs that take their athletics very seriously, and they're not going to be pushover games, all inner YSN schools too. I think the whole first half of the schedule is inner YSN, South Range, Salem, Poland, Allen, Crestview, Fitch, Canfield, before we get to Canton Central Catholic. So that is 6 games, I think I said. 6 games on the docket, all inner YSN, and all tough teams, also highlighting the Fitches and the Canfields that are in there as well.
And they have Salem on their schedule, and it's a perfect segue to bring in our guest for the day, Salem head coach Casey Costal, coming on, joining us on Running Point. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we've been talking volleyball all day. This is the start of our volleyball preview, and we're in Division 1. You guys will be previewed the next day in Division 2. But talk about some of the things that you've been doing this summer, and some of the things that you're returning, and some of the things that to look forward to in Salem volleyball.
Yeah, we're really excited for this season, especially coming back from COVID. And I mean, we're still in that pandemic, but a lot of those restrictions have been lifted. So we got to do our summer league. So we got to play in June with like 4 or 5 different teams, like Crestview, Western Reserve, Boardman. So that was a really good experience for us. We were able to have Youngstown State come in and help us prepare for our season. And we went to an all-day play camp with them as well. And then we've been doing a couple of scrimmages here and there. So it just feels like we've had so much more on our schedule this summer, so much more to prepare us. So we're really excited about that.
Now you are losing 5 seniors, including Kaylee Davis, who might be one of the biggest people to replace. But you're returning your setters, and that's got to be so important to you. Talk about the people you're returning and some of the leaders that you're going to lean on this year.
Oh yeah, we have 7 seniors this year. So even though we lost 5, we have 7 coming up. So that's really helps us out, and especially having our setters still. They're always big voices for us on the court, and all 7 seniors I think they're all leaders. They all use their voices really well. So we're really excited to have them, but it will be sad to lose them after this year.
Talk to me about some members on your coaching staff that help you out through this process, Coach, and some names too that really just helped you out getting these young girls and these girls that are now seniors to where they are now.
Yeah, so my assistant and JV coach is Rebecca Soliday, and we've known each other our whole life. She's actually my neighbor. We went to elementary school together, and she was a junior high coach before coming to coach with me, and I was new to this. This is only my 2nd year coaching. So her experience and her knowledge helped me incredibly much. And we love planning practices together. We just have a really good dynamic together. We work well. We both have a similar type of coaching style. So it's really nice to have her on board and always next to me on that bench. And then we have our freshman coach, and she is also an assistant for varsity, Candy Kekik. And she's been there for a while. She's coached for a while. I think she's been at Salem now like 4 years. So she has experience with Salem. And then before that, she's been a varsity coach. She's been a JV coach. So her knowledge is great. And it is nice to have someone experienced and knows their way around drills and the gym. It helps us a lot.
Like you said, second year of the job. What kind of things did you learn last year that you're bringing into this year that make you a better coach and you think is going to make this a better program?
Oh, I think I learned a lot last year that time is really important, especially due to that pandemic. Like, we were limited with time, so much of what we could do. And we started late, it felt. We didn't have as many game plays, not as many scrimmages. So time is so vital to us and our season this year. So as much as we can be in the gym, we're in the gym. As much as we can be playing, we're taking those opportunities this summer.
I mean, to kind of highlight and go off of the whole COVID year, I mean, first year coaching and COVID happens and you see a year unlike any other year before for any other coach. Talk to me a little bit about going into this year, the excitement you have for not only yourself, but also the girls in the community to have volleyball kind of be back to normal.
Yeah, I am beyond excited to have it almost be back to normal. I mean, the crowd is such a vital part of the game. So to be able to have almost everyone back in the stands, it will tremendously help us, not only to get the girls more excited, but to just rev up the competition. And I think it'll help us incredibly. I'm excited about that.
You played for Salem yourself. What's it like, and how much pride do you take in coaching the program that you were under and being able to bring it to the success that you got to see as a player?
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to be back. I feel so lucky to be back. It's crazy. I never saw myself in this position. It is hard sometimes being on the sidelines. I still wish I could be in there, but it's really cool to see them progress. And even just from last year, and this is only my second year, it's cool to see those relationships that you make with them and they make with each other, and how much progress and development they make in such little time.
Talk to me a little bit about the relationships you are building with your players too, and how the dynamic is a little bit different being in the shoes of a coach rather than the shoes of a player building relationships with a team.
Yeah, it is weird. It's something to get used to because you're not best friends with anyone on the team anymore as you were as a player. So, but I think I try my best to keep open communication. I try to be there for the girls if they need me. I think we all have really positive relationships with each other, which helps. And we do more than just play together in the gym. Like, we constantly plan things for outside of the gym. We, have swim together. We tie-dye shirts together. We go on little adventures. So it's really fun to get to do that with them.
Yeah, and perfect segue into the next question on building team chemistry. And chemistry is so important in a volleyball team. What other kind of things have you guys been doing to make sure chemistry is as strong as possible?
Yeah, so again, I think us doing that team bonding outside of those things it helps us tremendously. Like, they get to know each other in a different way on another level than just in the gym. Because a lot of times in the gym, it's serious, it's more focused. You don't have as much time for that to get to know someone. So it helps us a lot. And we like to just do fun things, anything. We played slip and slide kickball the other week, and it was really fun.
This is actually one of my favorite questions to ask for former player turned coaches. So I'll ask it you too, because it's so fresh in the mind. What would Casey Coastal, the coach, tell Casey Coastal, the player?
Oh goodness, this one's kind of hard. I still think this, and I feel like I would tell myself just listen more. I feel like there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I would have listened a little bit more to these coaches that I had, because I feel like I could have improved a lot more. And it's like, you just kind of go through the motions when you're a player sometimes. And I would have told myself, really listen to what they're saying to you, because it's important and it helps.
Now, take us through a average Salem volleyball practice and what kind of things that you guys do in your practice time, and what a Casey Coastal practice looks like.
So typically we'll do lifting in the morning. We do that 2 days a week now. So we do lifting for an hour. Then we'll get to practice. We'll do some conditioning, agility for about 30, 40 minutes. And then we'll get into a lot of our drill time. I'm big on ball control because ball control requires communication, and that is so important to me. I'm the type of player that never stops talking while on the court. And I see how that can help. So I always want to do drills like that. I try to get a little bit of each skill into each practice if I can, or stretch it across 2 practices. We're constantly working on serve, receive, hitting. We like to do positional practices too. We work with just our setters, just our passers, and just our hitters, and it really helps us. Then when we come back together, things connect a lot better.
Now, you said that you itch to get back on there when you're on the sideline, so I got to in practice. Are you still lacing up a little bit? Are you still taking some swings against your team, or have you officially retired from volleyball?
Oh, no. I don't plan to retire anytime soon. Definitely. If we start, a lot of times we start at the beginning and play like 4-on-4 queens. I'm always out there playing if I can.
Some may say too, coaching, being a newer coach in a sport is kind of a disadvantage. But talk to me a little bit about what gives Casey Coastal that coaching edge in each matchup that she's in.
Yeah, I know. I have heard people say it can be a disadvantage to be new and to be young, but I just came out of it. I just came out of college playing, and I know I had a lot of experience with drills, different things. I know the rules up to date in that way. I feel like I know a little bit better in how to relate to the girls. I remember exactly what it's like to be in their shoes because it wasn't that long ago. It was me. So I feel like I can relate to them in that way.
Give us some examples of some college drills that you took from your playing days that maybe you don't see a lot in high school that you kind of implemented in your practices here at the high school level.
Yeah, we have a lot of drills that I've taken from that, which I really like to do. There's a ball control one that I like, and it requires a lot of communication. They're passing a ball cross as the other side is passing a ball cross, and then I'll yell at switch, and then they have to both pass line at the same time. So it requires them to stop what they're doing, call out someone's name, and get the ball to where it needs to be. So it really gets them to think, which I love. A lot of gameplay, which I like, that I've gotten a lot of different like 6-on-6 games that I've gotten from college, which just adds to it and makes them more focused on where the ball needs to go rather than just getting it over. Where do you want this ball to go? And emphasizes that.
There's no doubt we think you're a great coach for the job at Salem, but talk to me a little bit, being a player there and now being a coach, the passion and how deeply ingrained Salem volleyball is with the community, how much it would mean to the Salem community for the volleyball team to bring back some hardware come end of the season.
Yeah, it means a lot to be back, and I'm really excited, and I am new, but I'm looking for ways to get the community more involved. I really want us to be able to do more like service projects around town and make those relationships, and then those to be reciprocated, and them be able to come to games, and the girls to actually have a relationship with people outside of our immediate circle.
You know, after every season, coaches take in an evaluation and kind of what they did well last year, what they need to improve on. What are some of the things that you want this program to take the next step in or improve on in 2021 compared to last season?
I think I really want to improve on our competitiveness and intensity. I think taking that from last year, it was hard because I was still trying to find my voice as a coach, and I really want us to be more intense and more competitive, and I want to be able to inspire them a little bit more with my passion for volleyball.
I think the Marlington Dukes were a thorn in a lot of people's side in volleyball last year. Talk to me a little bit about how you plan on being competitive against the Dukes and overcoming them this year.
Yeah, they're definitely always our tough competition, our top competition. We watch film. We try to, as our coaching team, we try to evaluate it and look at our film either when we play them or we get it from someone else that's played them before. We'll look at our last year's film, And that's a good way for us to practice and just talk about those things. What do they do? And what are their strong points and what are their weak points that we can emphasize on? So we're hoping to get that going. And sometimes it's just about who's the louder team out there, who wants it more.
We definitely look forward to that matchup. What are some other matchups on your schedule that Salem fans should circle as must-see opportunities to watch your team?
West Branch is always a big one. That's our rivals, and they always will be no matter what their team is like. So the girls, they're usually especially hype for that game. So it's a really it's an exciting game, and they feel the exact same way as us, West Branch. So that's always they bring it, we bring it that day. A lot of energy comes into that game, so that's always a good one and a fun one to see.
Pretty simple question for my last question for you, Coach, but it's one you could do as little or as much as you want with it. Being a new coach, being in the program, and I mean coaching a sport that you loved and you've played for the community for years, just talk to me about what is some of your favorite things about coaching, and not only just coaching volleyball, but coaching Salem volleyball.
Oh my goodness. I have a lot of things, but I would have to say, I mean, I just like being back to where I was. It's really cool to see it from a different perspective. And like going in, I barely knew any of them. I knew a couple of their siblings, but none of them very personally. So it was really interesting to see different girls and those families. And I think, honestly, my favorite part of coaching is just making the relationship with the girls. I love to be around them, and I love to see them develop. It's such a fun part. And I'm really excited to see add up the years and like see the freshmen who I came in with, and when they're seniors, I'm really excited to see that and the progress that they've made. It'll be really cool to see. And just from last year, we've seen a lot too. And girls coming up have made a lot of progress. They've found their voices. I think that's definitely my favorite part about coaching, and just being back in the community is cool.
And then my final question is, second year as a coach and you're trying to build a program, and obviously building a program, the youth is so important, and what they do before high school, before they get to you, is so important. What kind of things have you been doing? Have you been trying to implement to develop the youth in Salem volleyball and to try to get them as ready as possible before they end up being freshmen and are with you?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we have really great coaching staff for junior high, Josie Miller and Anna Rocha. So they're really good at making relationships with the girls too. They make it fun for them and they make it worthwhile. So it's good to have a good coaching staff then, because it draws more people to your team. And we did a lot of work this past winter. I mean, we didn't even have a month break before we started open gyms. We were in the gym and we had a lot of sixth graders incoming, because that was something they could do before the season started to prep them and prepare them for coming in and trying out for our team. And we're excited too, because we're going to probably go to the middle school, and I'm going to take my girls and we're going to talk to them about volleyball, and we're thinking that'll promote us even more and it'll make more girls want to come out.
Fantastic idea to interact both teams and let the junior high kids that know that the varsity level cares about them and they're supporting them. I think it's a great idea. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to hear from you. Great to hear a little bit of a preview of what Salem volleyball is going to bring this year. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. That was Casey Costel, the head coach of the Salem volleyball team, joining us on the Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We'll take a quick break, come back with more volleyball previews next on ysnlive.com.
Hi, everyone. This is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Every customer has a story, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Attention, current lessees of most makes and models. Tri-State Ford has a special offer for you. Come to Tri-State Ford, turn in your lease early, and get up to $2,500 in trade equity toward a new Ford or pre-owned vehicle. Plus, our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Early lease turn-in for most makes and models with up to $2,500 trade equity.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State 40 Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Running Point live on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Ty Bartel right here. We're going to pop him in. Friday the 13th. It's not so scary today. We have made it through without any spooky noises or random horror movie soundtracks being played in the studio. So far.
Still got an hour left, Anthony. I wouldn't say anything just yet.
Whoa, trying to keep it that way. We have one more volleyball preview in Division I to break down. Then Richie Giuliano is going to be in the studio, going to talk to us a little bit of everything. We're going to have one of the premier voices on YSN in the studio on a Friday, the Friday before football. He'll be on the call, I believe, Thursday for the Canfield Bowling game. So we're going to be talking to him a little bit about what he expects from the fall season, and he was doing the PA announcing for the Scrappers all year. We're talking about that as well. But before all that, let's dive into Louisville and talk about the Leopards and what they're going to bring into the volleyball season this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Louisville is one of the premier teams in volleyball in the area, and you could start to understand why when you start looking at what they have coming in this year. But I don't think we're going to be hard pressed to mention what they lost last year without mentioning Paige Cole. Paige Cole, a record setter not only in basketball but also one of those premier athletes in volleyball. Here's a number for you, Anthony: 517 kills last year on 37% percentage. She took over 1,300 attacks, just under 1,400 attacks and ended up with over 500 kills. She was the leader in all of kills last year, and she was player of the year too. So obviously replacing that is going to be hard.
Just time out there, because Paige Cole was a generational talent that you never really see more than once every, just I got to call a couple of her games. Just an incredible volleyball player and basketball, by the way.
An incredible season. Both. I mean, she broke the 3-point record in the same year she put 500 kills on. I mean, what are you doing?
She's doing the MJ shrug. I mean, like, but no, Paige Cole was phenomenal, phenomenal volleyball player, phenomenal basketball player, and you don't replace something like that. You can't replace it. You just have to try to bounce back from losing it. And Lewis, well, we're going to have you bring up who they're returning, and I think they have 5 seniors on the squad coming back. But Paige Cole, we just have to stop and say what a phenomenal talent and a once in a generation type athlete. It was a pleasure to cover her for her senior season, and we can't talk enough. I mean, 570 kills.
Yeah, Paige Cole, between Paige Cole and Lauren Siegfried, those two combined for just under 700 kills last year. And I mean, you're talking about replacing 2 players that pretty much gave you a team's worth of production. It's going to be hard. But when you have names of girls such as Kendall Loy, it makes things a little bit more uplook for you, I think, as a coach. Kendall Loy, one of those players, 124 kills last year on a 33% kill percentage, over a 33% kill percentage, just under 34, I should say. So, I mean, looking at her stats last year, you're looking for her to be that new leader, as well as girls like Kelsey Adelman. That's going to be a big one, I think. Going to be one of those seniors coming into this year. Regan Vanover is going to be, I think, a bigger name too. That you're going to have to watch, but there's also some younger girls too. Alexis Joby is one of those too. That was a sophomore last year coming into her junior year. I think they're going to be using her a lot. And also Addison Burrick was a freshman last year that got significant playing time, but I expect her to get even more now coming in as a sophomore. And she seems like one that they're going to be grooming too. And I mean, to get significant playing time, enough to where you can get 41 kills your freshman year, I think you had some pretty solid playing minutes your freshman year. And coming into your sophomore year, I think you're going to see even bigger improvements from Burrick this year.
Yeah, 5 seniors on this squad. Bridget Dallasimo, Regan Vanover, as you said, Captain Emma Davis, Kelsey Adelman, and then a captain, Kendall Loy. They're going to rely on those 5 seniors to try to lead as a unit. Maybe it'll be a little bit better instead of having one or two players that's leading. They have 5 leaders now to lead as a unit and all bring different kind of leadership qualities to the team.
Yeah, and I mean, you also bring back, I mean, we talk about too leadership qualities too, but like the younger players too are stepping up too. And I mean, you talk about girls like Alexis Joby too, blocking wise. The leader in team blocks last year at 55 last year as a sophomore. You're getting her back as a junior this year. And I mean, we talk offense. Yeah, you'll lose some of your kill leaders. You could replace. You look like you could replace some of them. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get the full-on replacement of Paige Cole because she's one of those that you're not going to be able to replace, but you want to try to get that production. But I mean, defensively, you look at girls like Joby going into this year, and you start to get a little excited too to see how the young spots on this team are really starting to give you a lot of production.
One of the great things about this team is every volleyball team's success starts with how well they can pass the ball. And senior Emma Davis is a defensive specialist. She passes so well. She's going to be able to get it to the setter really easily. And that's going to be important. I mean, it's not going to be hard to try to get offensive production when your first touch is going to be so efficient. So Emma Davis is going to be huge to this team. One of the reasons why she's named a captain. But I think when you look at how important she is and how important that first touch and the first pass is going to be for that Louisville volleyball team, don't think they're going to get as many out-of-system attacks as they did last year with a Paige Cole who could really hit from anywhere. So if you were out of system, you just set it to Paige Cole anywhere on the court, and she's going to swing it for you. Maybe they're going to rely on being in system a little bit more, and that's going to be on the defense. And it starts with Emma Davis, the defensive specialist.
Yeah, Paige Cole was kind of like your autocorrect for the team last year, and anything that was misspelled in a flow of an offense, she kind of came in and made sure that all those errors were corrected on the court. So losing that leadership, you're right, Anthony. That's going to be, I think, the hardest thing to replace. I mean, yes, the talent of Paige Cole is undeniable, and the number she put up is going to be hard for any player to match because she holds records now in school history. But you're losing that leadership quality too on the floor. That on-court coach that is very hard to replace year to year. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good leaders, but there's very few leaders that can be that on-court coach type of stature where everyone takes to that one player, and everyone took to Paige Cole. So you're looking at these players too, who's stepping up and being that next leader for this team.
You know, and also the in Paige Cole that was so dynamic, her standard, like she took volleyball. Obviously, she was a great basketball player too, but volleyball was her go-to, and she was in the gym all the time. She played JO volleyball, played in the club, and her standard of volleyball rose that program standard of volleyball. Everyone knew we're here for a reason, and we're taking it as seriously as Paige is. And losing that, I mean, I don't know how many of their players play club, but you have to have that standard to be successful, and especially in Division I.
Yeah, absolutely, in Division I too, and you need that for the program and for the entire team. So losing that is going to be hard, but I think that because of the players that they have and the players that played under that culture is still there, and it's going to be able to be carried over year to year. It's just you need the players to step up, and the seniors are going to have to lead this team now because you got a little bit of a void in leadership and what Paige Cole did. And yeah, you can't deny what Paige Cole did as far as gym time goes in both basketball and volleyball. She was just dedicated to making herself better at whatever she did. And you hope to see the same sort of drive and competition from the volleyball team this year, because if everyone on that volleyball team just took a little bit of what Paige Cole did in preparation wise, I think they're going to be just fine this year.
And look, Kendall Lloyd comes back in the middle, and it's going to make Louisville so hard to hit against. She's a great middle blocker. She's going to get great net defense presence on the net. So Louisville's defense is going to be squared, whether it be in the back row with their defensive specialist, Emma Davis, or it's going to be their net defense with Kendall Lloyd in the middle. I think their defense is going to be a strength of the team.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, you look at some of these players that are making noise too at young ages. We already highlighted players like Burrick too. I expect a lot of these younger players that had very successful seasons last year and seasons as freshmen who had significant playing time take that significant step and really have huge roles as sophomores and juniors on this Louisville volleyball team.
Let's talk about Louisville's schedule and what they'll have looking forward to them in the season.
You got to remember now, too, Louisville being an independent school, their schedule does have a lot of holes in it as of right now. So there is some games that are listed as to be announced. So they're just looking for opponents for certain days, but we'll run those through you for you as we go through the schedule. The 23rd of August, opening it up with New Philadelphia. That is at New Philadelphia. 26th, they face off home against Green. 31st at Stowe. Then going into September, they face Marlington the 2nd of September. Glen Oak is playing on the 4th. That is part of that quad match. Those are the other 3 games that are to be announced. They don't know in what order they're playing that quad match on the 4th, but they know that Glen Oak is the first one to start at 10 a.m. Barberton on the 8th of September at Barberton. They also have a Jackson-Milton tournament, that 11th matchup that we talked about. I think Fitch participating in possibly as well. I think they're participating in a tournament, I think, as well, but they know Jackson tournament starts at 10. Those opponents are to be announced as well. At Lake, the 14th, 7 p.m. start. The 16th at North Canton Hoover. Home versus Talmadge, the 18th at 2. East Canton in a play for a cure game. They're playing on the 20th of September. The 21st at Massillon. The 23rd, home versus Austintown Fitch. 28th, Tulsa that's home versus Tulsa. 2nd at Perry. That's going to be a great game. Coventry home versus Coventry 6. Claymont the 12th of October. That's senior night, a home game at Worcester. The 14th of October to round out the season before sectionals start.
You know, and I'm looking at the schedule too, right in front of me, and I got to say some of the games that stick out to me. You open the season at New Philly, which, New Philly and Green back to back. Those are two very strong volleyball programs right off the jump. Doesn't get any easier. They go to they host Marlington, Barberton strong, and that's where the Division III regionals are in Barberton, the Purple Palace. Lake and Hoover are both powerhouses in the district.
I'm looking at that.
There's no breaks.
That end of that schedule, though, at Massillon the 21st, Fitch, home versus Fitch the 23rd, and at Perry October 2nd. Those are 3 games towards the end of the season that I think are going to be huge for Louisville, getting them ready for the playoffs. But those are going to be some stiff competition, I think, games for the Leopards going into to the playoffs, with the playoffs starting just a week, or just a little bit over a week, 2 weeks, I should say, just under 2 weeks after that Perry game.
And a tournament at Massillon Jackson, and Massillon Jackson was I believe they were the 1 seed last year in Division I district. So I mean, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. Nothing that we don't expect from Louisville. But the thing, they don't play any of the YSN teams in this area. I mean, they're playing all the YSN teams at home. So they're hosting Fitch. I'm just making sure I'm right about it. Yeah, they're hosting Fitch. So they don't come into this area to play our YSN teams at home. But they do have the YSN matchup with Fitch. It'll be in Louisville on the 21st.
Yeah, and maybe too, you might see some inter-YSN matchups too. I don't know what teams are participating at that September 4th and September 11th tournament, so you might see a YSN matchup with one of those tournaments. But as far as regular scheduled games, yes, that Fitch one, I believe, is the only one so far that we have that is an inter-YSN matchup. But what an inter-YSN matchup that one is going to be on September 23rd out there in Leopard Country.
They split 2 games last year. And it promises to be a very competitive game again this year in Louisville. The last year was so weird because everyone just had to kind of pick up games where they could. That's why you saw a lot of teams not a conference to still play each other twice, like Louisville and Fitch. This year, maybe a more structured schedule where you look at this and we are going to play all these teams, and fingers crossed there's not going to be any week before cancellations that we're going to have to scramble and try to get a game last minute.
Yeah, and I really hope that, again, knock on wood, that COVID stays away too and doesn't prevent any of these games from going off without a hitch, because there's a lot of great matchups in a lot of sports in the fall that would be a crime if we got those taken away from us that we are already so excited for in a multitude of sports. You hope that everything can go off just fine, and we can have a full season of fall sports for us this year.
Knocking hard on wood. I mean, I'm out here like banging the drum on the wood desk. I mean, we don't want what we had last year.
No, we don't. And I mean, that's one of the things you obviously, we hope that it doesn't. And I mean, you hear the news stories and you get worried from time to time, but try to stay optimistic and everything and looking forward to this season in sports. And that's all I'm trying to do, man. Stay optimistic and look forward to fall sports coming up, because we have football that's around the corner. We have football tonight and volleyball coming in. Golf's already starting. So it's a full swing of fall sports coming up.
And you know what? Richie Giuliano is in the studio. And now that we've wrapped up our volleyball previews, we're going to take a break and bring him on to talk everything, because Richie's just a guy that you just want to hear talk. So we'll take a quick break. YSNLive.com Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you, alongside our buddy Ty Bartell. And hey, look who we have coming into the studio, Mr. Richie Giuliano. Buddy, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. I love the show that you and Ty put together, obviously, after Ron departed. So, tap to you and, cap off to what you've done and bringing local coaches on and really talking about their experience at the high school level. And, I love what you two have done with the show.
Thank you, man. That's so great to hear. We are just under a week away from football starting for you. You're going to be calling that Canfield Poland game, and Man, how excited are you for the high school football season? You're going to be on the call a lot this year with a number of different teams. On Friday, you're going to be going to La Brea with Billy Mack. I mean, you're going to be doing a lot. So what are you most excited about for this high school football season?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's kind of crazy that we're back in the fall season already. You know, it feels like it was just yesterday that Coach Niddle and I were, you know, in that regional final game against Chardon, and then you flip the page to the spring semester, and it's kind of crazy. We're already back to football season. So, you know, it's going to be a very exciting year. Obviously, I'm able to cover Canfield and, you know, their success they had last year. They got a lot of key returning starters coming back. They lose a little bit up front with their line, but they also have a guy like Jake Bowen, who's a tackle, who's done such good things with Canfield. So it's going to be a fun season. They're going to have a great team. Obviously, as you saw, they're already top 10 in the Division II pool in the state of Ohio. So it's going to be a fun season with Canfield.
Obviously, they're going to want to take that next step, though, right? I mean, like, you know, they got to Chardon. They got right there. Let's take that next step. What do you think is the game plan for that?
Yeah, you know, they're going to be led by Brock Lowry, of course, who got that 1 year under his wing already, and he passed for over 1,000. He ran for over 1,000. A dynamic quarterback who's being recruited at such a high level. He's already got a lot of recruits from the Big 12, a couple offers from the Big 10. So that's a big guy to look out for. And obviously Mike Crawford on the defensive side, some guys that are going to contribute, some kids that were sophomores and juniors that didn't get to play because of how senior heavy the team was last year. They waited their turn. They grinded in practice. Now they'll get their opportunity to shine this year. So this is going to be a fairly young team, but they also have a lot of experience from last year with their younger players.
And I'll bring Ty into this conversation so he doesn't get too bored sitting over there in Ravenna. And we've been talking like so much. There are so many either 1 year under their belt quarterbacks, or this year they're starting as sophomores and they'll have that 1 year next year. I mean, a lot of young quarterbacks that aren't seniors in the area yet. It's got to be an exciting time for coaches and fans.
Oh, my gosh, no doubt. A lot of new talent coming through the area, and this is a very, very rich talent area in Northeast Ohio. I mean, we're blessed with the high school football that we have in this area on a weekly basis, and, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, we previewed that Canfield Poland game week 1. I mean, what else do you want for the first week? You get that rivalry back in the AAC with Canfield and Poland, and it's even better. It's on a Thursday night, a little Thursday night football on the network.
Ty, we talked so much about non-senior quarterbacks, and I know it's hard to kind of jar our memory on all of them, but I mean, there are so many, right? I mean, I'm not wrong. There are so many either sophomores or juniors this year that are going either into their first year as a sophomore quarterback or having that 1 year under their belt as juniors coming into another year of quarterbacking.
Yeah, we looked at a lot of quarterbacks too, and I mean, we talk about juniors that are now seniors, and we're expecting even bigger things. We talked about the Sherwoods, we talked about the Brungards, we talked about the Lowrys and stuff like that. Yeah, we talked about a wider range of guys that were these teams are going with a younger quarterback with the sophomore quarterbacks and trying to go 3 years of development instead of 2. And we see a lot of teams starting to go with that because they've seen the successes of the Springfields and the successes of the Canfields and your Fitches. So a lot of teams I feel like are now going with, hey, let's start a quarterback as a sophomore year. We could have a good or a bad year, but we at least will have a year of experience for our guy then. And I think it just gives coaches just to know, hey, we have 3 years to think of a game plan that surrounds this guy, an offensive scheme for this guy instead of 2. I think it really is appealing to coaches too.
And Richie, I mean, like, just being able to accept that maybe you'll have some growing pains as a sophomore quarterback, but it's going to pay off in the long run. I think more and more coaches are having that foresight.
Yeah, that's something we didn't see back in the day, of course, when you were in high school. And even when I was in high school, which wasn't that long ago, only 4 years ago, I mean, you saw a lot of guys that were being developed at the freshman team and the JV team. You didn't get much playing time as a sophomore unless you were, you know, just a plain out stud. But now a lot of teams are, you know, like you said, going to that tactic where, you know, you might have some growing pains along the way. You might have not have the best record at the end of the season, but at least you get that 1 year under their wing as a sophomore quarterback where they could develop into a 3-year quarterback and a 3-year letterman.
3-year quarterback. I think coaches are getting used to the sound of that. Richie, you were not lazy during the summer at all, and you're never lazy, by the way, which is something that I think everyone envies. You got to work with the Scrappers and be the PA announcer down there. Talk about that experience and what it was like. Unfortunately, last game of the season tonight is canceled, but talk about that whole summer experience and being able to be a part of that and being able to, you know, be the voice of the stadium and talk to all the fans.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely a different experience than what I'm used to. You know, at heart, I'm a play-by-play guy. I've been doing that for 3 years now here at YSN. So it was definitely a different leap in my broadcasting career. Like you said, being the voice of the stadium, that first, sentence I did on my first night there was very shocking to me, because you have that window open and you turn on that mic and you hear your voice over the loudspeaker, and it's like, man, this is definitely a different step in my career here.
You know what I think would be really unnerving, like with our broadcast, the people can't react right to you. You're talking to people, they can turn around and say something right to you.
And that's happened before. That has happened before. You say a thing or two, and you interact with the fans, especially because where the press box is at Eastwood Field. If you're sitting in that last row, you could literally stand up and you're eye level with me. So I mean, it's kind of cool. A lot of fan interaction, and it definitely was a great experience. And I'd like to thank all the production team and everybody who's helped me along the way. Get to that point.
You're a baseball guy. What was your assessment of the MLB Draft League and the level of baseball we got to see there, and the development? Really, I think that was the whole point of the league, the development of the kids from the start of the summer to the end of the summer.
Yeah, that was the whole point of the league, for them to get drafted. And I think it was over 40 guys throughout the league and the 6 teams that did get drafted. So, they did a decent job there. What was different was that there was almost a different lineup every month. Just, kids getting moved around. And you saw a lot of high school players, which I was shocked to see on the roster. A lot of high school guys and a lot of JUCO players as well. Some Division I players here and there, like the Scrappers had a kid that was a pitcher from Tennessee. But overall, the development of the league was pretty good. I mean, you saw a lot of adjustments from the hitters when they came in that first month to the end of the month, taking balls the other way. And, that's something that they have to learn. A lot of the guys are young. I mean, they're all younger than me. They're like 19, 20 years old. So it was impressive to see the talent that they showed on the field week in and week out.
Those 19 and 20-year-olds probably made all of us feel like, what have we done with our lives?
Yeah. They're chasing dreams to become millionaires and play in the big leagues. And, it's a different perspective you look at than when you saw the Scrappers a couple of years ago when those kids were drafted. So, they were all hungry. That's one thing I describe them as. They were hungry to play, and, day in and day out, they're ready to go.
I mean, talk to me too a little bit. I mean, Richie, we're looking at football season coming up, and I mean, you already know that Canfield-Poland matchup, but I mean, there's some other great week 1 matchups. I think that no doubt. I mean, looking Springfield, South Range being one of them, Cheney and Fitch coming back. Talk to me a little bit about just some other games and some other teams you're really excited to watch football wise in the high school scene in the area.
Yeah, I'm lucky to get LeBray that first week, because Canfield and Poland play on Thursday, and then LeBray plays on Friday to open up their season. And I'm going to be doing that game with Billy. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. Aiden Stevens, who was a stud last year.
You better be ready to hit that scoreboard a lot.
The scoreboard a lot, because LeBray, they run that high-powered offense. They got Drake as the wide out. I mean, they got Carter as their halfback who could run through a brick wall. They have a very, very talented offensive team coming back this year. And I got to cover them a couple times in the past, and I was very excited when I got the call that I was going to be doing their game on week number 1.
What's interesting about LeBray is their conference has got a lot harder.
Yes.
And they're going to have to raise their bar a little bit with Garfield coming into the party. Week 1 is a great place to send a message.
It is. I mean, no doubt. I mean, that's a great place to send the message. And, you want to get off to a good start, especially at home, too. You're in front of your home crowd, and they bring the energy. That's a place where Billy and I were there last year, and this was COVID impacted. They had like air horns. They filled it up. So I'm really excited to see what LeBray's fan section looks like on a full capacity crowd. That place is going to be rocking.
Richie, I know you typically cover all Canfield games that you can too, and I'm sure you've taken a look at the schedule outside of course, that Poland and Canfield game. What's some other games that you're going to point towards people to come attend or watch live on the network, Canfield games?
Yeah, they got a tough schedule this year, not going to lie. They play Dover at home week 2. That's always a tough opponent. Canfield and Dover historically have been a great rival out of conference, 2 teams that have battled for that region for such a long time. So that's going to be a key matchup to look out for. And then New Philly as well. They're on the road at New Philadelphia this year. They played them at home. This is when New Philly came in top 10 in the state, and they were able to knock them off. That was a big matchup because both 2 teams had such big offensive lines. I mean, if you looked at their O-line, they averaged like 320, I think, up front. It was like insane. They had one of the best offensive lines in the state, and Canfield was able to manage that and win. So that's going to be another marquee matchup. Dover and New Philly, two teams that are right next to each other on the border there, and both are home, one away. So it's going to be a fun matchup. Those two teams is what I would say for fans to turn on the network there.
Want to remind everybody that if you're a Richie Giuliano fan, the comments are live, and you can send him some fan mail. Comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And it's going to explode now that I said that, because I think the love for Richie Giuliano is off the charts in YSN Nation. The phone lines, if you want to call and talk to Richie, he can hear you. 330-886-0813. We'd love to hear from all of our viewers. Richie, I want to get a little bit into your personal thing, and you've been with us for a while, and you do just such a great job in it. To do it the way you do it, you have to have a passion for it. Where does your passion for this job kind of go, and how did it develop, and what kind of things do you want to see yourself do this year as we start to venture into the next season of YSN high school coverage? What are some of your personal goals for yourself as a broadcaster with YSN?
I think it's just on a day-to-day basis. I try and be the best I can every day that I come in. And, my love for broadcasting started at a young age, listening to Tom Hamilton, who was the Indians play-by-play guy. And, I was lucky to listen to him for a countless number of years. And then I got this opportunity in the spring of my freshman year. And ever since then, I fell in love with the art of calling a game. I think, the experience when you get into that booth on a high-pressure moment, when the crowd's getting into it, there's just nothing like it. And for my goals this season, it's just improve week to week. You don't want a bad broadcast, and you want to improve on whatever you can from week 1 to, that final week 10.
And I remember working with you for YSU volleyball. And I got to tell you, like, how fast you picked up everything. And like, there were like maybe a day. And then the next day you came in prepared and you were ready for a volleyball match, and you learned all the lingo. It was incredible to watch the preparation. You were there before I was.
Yeah, that's one thing that I take a lot of pride in is my preparation. I think that's what really makes a good broadcaster is how much you prepare for a game, because like you said, coming into that first match for Youngstown State, I didn't really know much about volleyball in general. I did some studying before. I got the late call about a few weeks before the season that I was going to be doing the games with you. And, I did my preparation, but you really have to learn from the game. There's different scenarios that took place, and I was like, just looking at you like, you got to help me out here. I don't know what's going on, but you learn through experience, and that's something I really take a lot of pride in is preparation. I try and get as much backstory on each player as I can, whether that's your star player to the bench player, because you never know what's going to happen. In that third, fourth set, somebody off the bench might come in, and you got to fill that time with something. So you got to treat each player like they're the star player when it comes to preparation. Make sure you have enough information for everybody on the team.
Yeah, and Richie, talk to me a little bit too. I mean, you got a chance to jump into volleyball. I myself doing the same thing too. But I mean, talk to me a little bit about the other sports that are outside of the general football, basketball, and baseball. Talk to me about other athletics in the area as far as volleyball, soccer sense, and why it's so important for these communities to jump on these sports as well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned soccer. That's a big one. I just picked up soccer last year, and it was a big game. It was a district championship game. Do you mean like for us to broadcast these events and why it's important for that community?
How important is it?
Can I? I'll let Ty answer.
Basically, how important is it for a community to treat these sports of the same importance as they do other sports and show up in the same way and attend these sports in the same way?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get what you're saying now. I mean, it's very important. I mean, everybody comes to football games. We all know that. It's Friday night football around here, but, it's the other sports like volleyball that you cover a lot. Some schools do get a good crowd. I mean, Crestview, I was there. That place was packed. Fitch has a great crowd. So
Canfield too, because they're gonna have
Canfield. Yep. So I think there is a lot of importance around this area when it comes to other sports outside of the big three, like football, basketball, and I guess you could say baseball. Although baseball hasn't been as important around this area for a long time. I don't know why, but that's how it's been. So yeah, it's very important for a community to go out and support each and every sport. I mean, there's new sports that are popping up like lacrosse. Lacrosse is, starting to come along here in the Valley a little bit. I know my hometown team in Canfield has a team, and Cardinal Mooney had a team there for a bit. So there's other sports that are popping up that people need to support, because some of those kids only play that one sport. It's not all about football in some seasons. So yeah, that's why I think it's important, because not every kid plays football, basketball, and baseball.
Ty said it. He's an venture into volleyball for the first time. You've been in that shoes. Give him some advice. What would you say to prepare for volleyball and to kind of tackle that monster?
Yeah, you got to know the lingo. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't know the lingo of volleyball, you're going to be in some trouble when it comes to set. Pancake digs, one thing I learned on the fly. You don't really know what to call when somebody slides in with their hand under the ball. Yeah, I think lingo is a big thing. And another thing is knowing the stats. I think stats are very important when it comes to volleyball. We were lucky enough to get stats after every set. So that was nice. But I think it's important to know the stats, kills, digs, everything like that. But lingo, for me, was the most important thing when I started picking up volleyball. You'll get used to that after, a couple of months. But that's one thing that you need to start with first, is get into that vocabulary book and start looking up, okay, what is this called? What is this when this happens? And rules is another big thing too. Like if it hits the antenna, obviously it's out. That's a big rule to know. There's a bunch of rules that you need to know when it comes to sets.
Double touch.
Yeah. That's very confusing because sometimes you can't see the ref say 2 or whatever. So I'd say rules and lingo are the two most important things when approaching, broadcasting volleyball for the first time.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at too the other sports in the area, I think it's really important too for us as a company to represent all these athletes too. And I think Richie makes a great point too, that a lot of these athletes only play that one sport. And I think it's wildly important for us. And I think we need to take it as our responsibility to highlight every athlete in the area, no matter of which sport that they play, because I think Richie and Anthony, you'll both agree with me on this. We have some of the best athletes in the entire country congregated here in Northeastern Ohio. And I think it's just a matter of fact that we just don't get maybe the national coverage that other cities do. But I definitely think some of the best athletes are right here in Northeastern Ohio.
Yeah, one of the reasons one of the things I try to strive to get people to remember is no matter the popularity of a sport, and obviously we're going into football season, football's king here. There's no argument about it. Football draws the most people, makes the most money. That's just the reality. The athletes span, whether it be soccer, volleyball, football, cross country, golf, all those, they all put in the same amount of time. They're all doing the practices. They're all doing the homework. They're all being student athletes. That's one of the reasons why it's so important that we at least shine the light on all of them, because they're all doing the same. They're doing the same thing. They're putting in the same amount of work, and they're putting in the same amount of dedication to whatever sport they're trying to play.
Yeah, I think so as well too. I think that's the biggest thing too, and I just wish we would get better coverage too, national coverage. And I wish there would be more coverage there. But I mean, that's why we're here.
We got you.
Why we're here, and I think that was the biggest complaint about why in Northeastern Ohio was why there hasn't more coverage of sports and local sports, and how much people really love local sports. And now we're giving an avenue, and now we're expanding on that avenue, and not just covering the big 4 or the big 3 of sports in high school that a lot of people like to talk about. And we're expanding our horizons to cover more tennis, more soccer, more volleyball, and more sports like that, more golf too. We've been covering too. So I think it's just very important to highlight these athletes. And there's a lot of athletes that play other sports that you might not know they play other sports, because you only know them from basketball, baseball, or football, but they're pretty darn good in other sports. I mean, perfect example of what one guy I talked about, Nate Leskovac. We talk about what he's done in football, what he's done in basketball. You don't even know what he's done on a track field, and he's done some pretty incredible things track and field wise that pales in comparison to the other things he's done. I mean, it's incredible. The basketball and football stats, I should say, pale in comparison to what he's done on the track and field.
Ricky, you'll learn very quick that we don't shy away from shameless plugs on Running Point anymore. We are definitely not afraid of shameless plugs. When you talk about some of the things that make you excited about this new school year and the new season, and some of the athletes are going to get to cover, what are some of the things you want to highlight about the excitement over not just the fall season, but every season that we cover, and what it's going to be like to get into this next school year.
Well, I think the biggest thing is fans returning here in 2021 and this wicked school year that's coming up. It was definitely different, and I think we could have a conversation on this as a broadcaster because we were media and we were some of the only people that were allowed in these arenas and in these venues, and it was a lot different covering a basketball game when there was like maybe 100 people there and just the parents and no student section. There wasn't much energy in the building, and you could really hear everything you're saying. Like there was one point, like on a timeout or something, we're talking and everybody in the whole place could hear you. Like it's definitely different, and that's something that I think I'm going to highlight. Definitely week one, Pole and Canfield, that place is going to be sold out. There's no doubt about it. The place is going to be sold out. Yes. Standing room only, like it was in the past, and it's definitely going to be something new and something I think all of us here at YSN, the entire community, are excited about, is getting fans back into these venues.
Ty, you called a lot of games last year. What was it like for you to be in a game where there weren't a lot of people there and everyone could kind of hear what you were saying?
It's weird too because as Richie might as well, but I know I certainly do, and you've definitely you know, and as well as everyone else on the network knows, I tend to get a little bit loud,
a little bit
when things get a little bit exciting. So being definitely like in a gym and in a basketball setting, and boys or girls, and you're getting pretty excited, and there's only parents in the crowd. And then you tend to, sometimes I usually just do the one ear covered, one ear off. But sometimes if I have the one ear over, I flip the ear back and it's just dead silence. You just hear the basketball just beating off of the floor and just playing a basketball game like there's only 10 people in the gym. So it is a little bit weird. And I'm definitely, and that is the number one thing I said. And I think I said that first show I came on for this. I think the biggest thing is getting fans back. And that's the biggest thing I think I missed as a broadcaster. And I think as the athletes missed, as everyone missed, it was having you guys in the stands again and just having just that crowd and how important the crowd is at sports in all levels too. I think we really realized that over the course of COVID.
One of the things I had to get used to, and maybe Richie can and Ty can both do this, man, you could hear the squeaks of the shoes a whole lot more, and it was a lot more prevalent. And it took like a couple of games to not be annoyed by that.
You could also hear what the players were saying.
Yes.
You could really hear in like huddles what they were talking about. You knew the next play that was coming up if you were close to the bench.
Now that was fun because then like when you took a break, a timeout, you could come back from the break and say, hey, this is exactly what the coach talked about. And it gave us as broadcasters, things to talk about.
And I'll tell a quick little story here. So it was Campfield in the regional semifinal up there against Streetsboro. And because of COVID protocols, whatever, they didn't have a booth for us. So we were actually in the offensive and defensive coordinators booth. So during the game, they were calling out plays. And like you said, it helps the broadcasters because Gary Niddle, who was my color guy and will be this year, was calling out the plays. It made him look like Tony Romo.
Tony Romo, didn't
looked
he?
like he was a genius because he knew exactly what was coming. We were in the same booth as the offensive and defensive coordinator. It was actually kind of cool, though, because a play is coming up.
I definitely think it provided a unique set of challenges, but also a unique set of benefits the COVID year. But I don't think we're hard pressed to say we're definitely excited to have everything go off, of course, as normal as possible this year. We're hoping for having full crowds in attendance and fall sports to go off completely fine and have that full array of fall sports in every category be check marked with the great matchups that we have, and not only just football but volleyball and soccer. And we also said some really good golfers too that we've highlighted around the area too. So I'm really excited, I think, just to see these athletes start to get highlighted again. But I think the interesting thing about COVID too, and you talk about the having to hear that too. I think it was interesting too because you could hear the coaches too, and you could hear almost every fan is their individual voice in an empty stadium. And sometimes you have to hit that mute button a little bit too on that thing. So I remember too hearing almost what every single fan was saying in a stadium on whatever side you're on. You could almost hear every single person what they're saying in the bleachers. And I thought that was the oddest thing, was being able to pick out which fan was saying what and be able to see and hear everybody.
Yeah, and one of the other things that was different last year that I personally had to take a little bit of getting used to we couldn't do interviews in person anymore. I mean, we do a lot of player and coach interviews, and I liked going into a practice and being able to do that interview in person. You get to see how the person reacts. You get to kind of see the practices a little bit. And as nice as it was to do remote interviews and as efficient as it was, you could do 3 or 4 a night now. It was still I missed being able to do those interviews in person and being able to see the person react to what I'm asking and get a glimpse of practices every now and then. So I'm kind of excited to get back to that aspect of the job too.
Yeah, and I think one thing, that could be a pain when you do the online interview. Sometimes somebody doesn't have good connection.
Yes.
Like I ran into this a couple of times when I was trying to do a interview with our head volleyball coach at YSU and Coach Alini Scott. Like we just didn't have the right software, and the connection was all staticky, and you couldn't really understand what the person was saying, and it was really hard to counter that answer that she just gave because you couldn't understand what the interviewee was saying.
Yeah, and sometimes there's connection. The most awkward one is when it lags, and all of a sudden the video catches up to what they're saying,
and you're like, "Oh, okay,
you just said that."
Next question.
Oh man, it's one of the I guess first world problems you would call it of internet connections and doing interviews remotely is obviously you don't get you don't get to decide how good the connection on the other end is. That's why I'm so excited that we're going to be more and more as the year goes on, guests in the studio. We don't have to worry about connections. They're going to be sitting where you are, and we're going to be able to do that again now that we're past COVID.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Can we stop? Can we just we're past it. We're past it.
I don't think we want to say anything first because you don't want to be that jinx, because I feel like everyone is already kind of just keeping their ears up because they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves. And I mean, yeah, we want to stay optimistic, but you get it too. You don't want to be that guy that says it's over and then it's not either. So no, we are definitely optimistic though. And I do think we should be okay to have the season go off. I think if we were able to do it and find a way to make the season happen last year, I don't think the season is at all at risk. I think it's just the fan attendance that's at risk. And that's what I'm more worried about than anything. And I hope that does not change at all. And if it is to change, I hope it changes for no more than a game. And we don't have to worry about a whole season of limited capacity again.
We get 16 teams in the playoffs this year too, Rich.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, like, we're going to see a lot more teams be able to fight for playoff spots. A lot more Week 10 matchups are going to have a lot more weight on them than in years past too.
Yeah, it was different because obviously last year expanding, the playoffs to let a lot of different teams in, and we saw a lot of bad matchups in that first week. I like the competitiveness of 16 teams in the playoffs. It really puts the importance on every single regular season game. And, if you get off to a bad start, you really got to turn things around quickly or else you're in some trouble to make the playoffs. And, it also puts a lot of importance on that Week 9, Week 10 matchup. And that's what I like about high school football is the ability to battle for that last playoff spot, especially when it's in conference too. Those games mean a lot towards the end of the year. And we didn't see as much as that last year when teams kind of just glided in because they knew they were going to get that playoff spot.
But I mean,
sorry. I was going to say, you can attest to this when we did our football preview. There's a lot of Week 10 games now that all of a sudden become a lot more important.
Oh, yeah, it is. And I mean, it makes the end of the season a lot more fun to watch, too, when you have a list of teams that are all going to be competing in it. And we talked about some teams, too, that we think 5-5 and 6-6 where they were last year overall after they played 10 games. If they're able to replicate that, they're going to be able to make the playoffs, too, as maybe a lower seed, but still make the playoffs. And can you imagine someone like a team like Louisville with a Vinny Balone on that team that just sneaks in, having to play them and you're a 2 or a 3 seed? The first game of the playoffs. I don't know, man. That's pretty daunting that they're now allowing and expanding the playoffs to where you can have those matchups in a first game. And I don't know about you, but Vinny Balone being counted as an underdog, I don't know about that, man. And that's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, in the lower division you go, the more chances there are to make the playoffs because obviously the more teams there are. So you're going to see as you go down in the divisions, more teams are going to get in at 4 and 6, 5 and 5 marks, maybe a 3 and 7. But still, for Canfield, for Hubbard, for Louisville, not as easy. I don't know if 5 and 5 will cut it in Division 3, even with 16 teams.
No, probably not. I mean, once you get higher in divisions, like you said, it's a lot harder to make it. A lot more teams I don't think a 5-5, unless you're like Ursuline or a Mooney who always stacks their schedule, would get in. Like in the past, we've seen Mooney and Ursuline, two teams that have just been one game over 500, or they've even been below 500 and have been able to make it just because of that strength of schedule. But now I don't know if that would occur.
That brings up the scary part. I mean, what if a Mooney Ursuline type team that plays such a hard schedule gets in as a lower seed? All of a sudden, your 9 seed is playing an 8 seed, but it's Ursuline, and now your 1 seed plays Ursuline in the second round. I mean, it'd
be tough.
That's scary, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to play Ursuline, although they're going to be really good.
Ursuline is an example. Ursuline type teams. Louisville has an independent schedule too, so does Mooney.
Yeah.
But I mean, we even talked about it too, Anthony. These conference school teams too. Yeah, you have to play your conferences. Teams like the NE8 and we said the MVAC, EOAC, those teams, they play those conference games. But we've even seen the out of conference games too. They've all been equally scheduling, I think, tough opponents and up division opponents too. Just trying to get those computer points too, and not really allowing one team like the Moonies and Ursulines did in years prior have that advantage in the computer points category because they played tougher division or out of division opponents, and I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these teams go towards the competition side of things, because they say, hey, if we're going to get some losses, we're at least not going to lose in the computer points race.
And what I really appreciate is one of my fears was scheduling would dip down because teams aren't as worried about winning one game against it. You get 5 wins, you're in. So who cares who we win against? We haven't seen scheduling dip at all this year. In fact, most of the teams are scheduling up in the non-conference and making sure they are ready for the playoffs if they get. I feel like it's putting more pressure on beefing up that schedule, not for a playoff spot, but for when you're ready when you do get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think every team, if you're looking non-conference, and I mentioned this earlier with like Canfield playing Dover and New Philly, you want to play those teams because you're going to be playing a team just like that in the playoffs in round 2 or 3. So I think preparation as a head coach and, the coaching staff is, okay, we want to play as many good teams out of conference as possible just so we prepare our players and our coaching staff for those type of games, because you can't get farther than the second or third round if you're not prepared to play a team like that.
And you talk about that New Philly game when we had Pavlansky on a couple of weeks ago. He talked about how important that game is for the travel and how important it is to get used to the travel, because if you make a deep playoff run, inevitably you're going to make a long road trip. You got to be able to get used to the hour and a half, 2-hour drives that the playoffs are going to bring. So smart job by Coach Pavlansky to put in a game there. They're going, I believe, like an hour and a half, maybe closer to 2 hours
it's far.
To get used to that road trip.
Yeah, and I think another big thing is because they play the majority of their games at home, and they don't travel that far very often. So I think it is important to travel over an hour, get your players ready for a game like that, because it's hard to travel over an hour on a bus and get off and, try and play a full football game. And, I saw this in the spring when I was traveling with YSU. It's tough to play a 3-4 game series when you're traveling 6, 7, 8 hours a piece. And, I like what he's doing there in that second, third week on the road, traveling over an hour to play New Philly.
Yeah. And one of the things that makes that so strong is like I said, it's not going to surprise you when you get into the playoffs. You're not going to be like, oh man, I've never traveled this far before.
Yeah.
How about Jackson Milton week 1 going over to Toledo? That's a trek, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a different animal there.
Ty, what about you in the road trips? What's your take?
I mean, like I said, too, I think road trips are going to be huge for these teams just to get them used to playing away games, truly being away and feeling like they're away and not just a 10-minute drive down the road where you have a little bit more people rooting against you. You want it to feel like an actual road trip. And because those are the away games, it's supposed to feel like a mundane thing to go out and play an opponent away because you don't want to travel. That's why you appreciate those home games and want to win those home games that much more. So, I mean, that just shows, too, you got to be battle tested and road tested getting ready for the playoffs. And I think Jackson Milton's doing that thing by scheduling that way and making those tough travels. The only other question that I have for Richie, and I mean, we know we had all those football dream matchups that we talked about last year, and Springfield and South Range being one of them. And I know you and me, Richie, though, the two teams we were talking about when everyone else was saying Springfield, South Range, we said Fitch and Canfield we wanted to see match up. And unlike Springfield, South Range, where South Range isn't returning their quarterback, Canfield and Fitch, they're both returning their stars. So tell me about how excited you are for that matchup where Fitch comes in and plays the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be awesome. I mean, this has been a rivalry for a long time in many other sports, especially basketball, where Canfield and Fitch have played for many years in the past. And, it's just a lot of fun because both schools know each other really well, when it comes to players, when it comes to the coaching staff. And there's a lot of scrimmages that take place before the season because they're so close. But it's nice that they'll be able to match up in a regular season. And that's going to be two teams that are, on the same level. It's going to be a fantastic game. And, I think it prepares both teams really well, especially because Canfield's got to play up a division in D1, and that gives them a big test. And I think it's nice for Fitch, too, because they're playing no slouch when they go down in Division 2.
One of the things I want to ask you before we get ready to wrap this one up as well. Well, I think Wednesday, me and Ty had the conversation about broadcasting programs, how much they kind of prepare you. Ty had the classes at Fitch, and we talked about trying to get experience as early as you can, hands-on experience. And, you're in a great program that I went through in YSU. Talk about some of the experiences you've had, not just at YSU, but before, that have really built who you are as a broadcaster now, and how important it is, how hands-on experience is more important in broadcasting, and maybe talk to the young broadcasters on how to get some hands-on experience.
Well, I think this is the best venue to go through, right? I mean, this is always the first step that you got to go through to be a great broadcaster. And I can't thank DJ as well as you and Quinn, who's sitting here in the room as well, enough for the opportunity you have put in front of me to start off my freshman year. That's a lot of trust. And a kid that's never broadcasted a game to cover a Division I college baseball team. So I just appreciate that offer. And I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, I think hands-on experience is the biggest thing. I mean, you could sit in a classroom and they could tell you how to work the mixer. They could tell you how to move the camera. They could tell you all this stuff. But until you go out there and actually do it, it's a different animal out in the field. When you get out there and broadcast the game, that first time you turn on the headset, you're going to be shaking a little bit, and you're going to have those nerves rushing through your spine. But, the more you get comfortable in the booth, the better you're off going to be. And now, when you step up to a mic now, and you probably feel the same way as well as Ty, you could go into any venue, any event, and you feel ready to go. You're not nervous. You feel excited more than anything.
We're just excited to have your voice back on YSN Live for the fall season and the seasons to come. You are an asset. Let me just tell you, you're an asset. And
appreciate that.
And I loved working with you when I got the chance to in volleyball. I look forward to anytime we get to work together again. If I can find a reason to go call a game with you, then we're doing it. Like, let's go both call a Canfield volleyball game or something. Let's go. Cause I miss it. So we'll take one more break and be back to wrap up this edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and 2 of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Anthony Hartwig with Ty Bartell. As we wrap up this Friday edition, we want to thank Casey Costel, the head coach of Salem Volleyball, for joining us today. And want to remind everyone that on Monday we will have more guests and we will continue our volleyball previews by jumping into Division II. A lot more teams, so we'll have a lot more to talk about as we only had 4 Division I teams. And you look at the Division II slate, and there's more than 4. I don't know the exact number, but
we might be doing whole shows for divisions here pretty soon, getting through it.
Promise to do more than 4 on Monday. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to take a, what's the math? 72.5-hour break, 71.5-hour break. We'll be back on Monday for Running Point on YSNLive.com. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. But Power Hour comes up next, 3 to 4. Don't forget there are 12 soccer games that you can go to in the area tonight. Go out there and watch some football for Friday Night Football. And we'll have the scores and updates as well on Monday on Running Point's edition. So that's it from us. We'll see you. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Get out there and watch some soccer.